Good evening. Welcome to the Computer Games Show. My name's Sean Bell. I'm joined by Matt Murray.
Hello.
Full stop. That I mean, out of the regulars, that is it.
That's it.
This week. But, you know, might be an improvement, to be honest, because we're being joined by Joshua Garrity.
Hello.
And Darren Gargette.
Hello. We're bringing the greyness.
Bit
some
of
dry academic commentary is what
just a bit of
TCGS
solid sort of
needed.
6 out of 10. Yeah, just, you know, that's what we need. That's what we needed. It's what we figured. Like, you know, obviously Dave and James not being here, we just need a firm, reliable hand on the tiller. How you both doing? You all right?
Josh?
Well, I'm recovering from COVID at the moment.
Okay,
so that's
so
fun.
not 100% then.
Not 100%. I'm hoping that it's going to give me quite like a gravelly gravitas during this recording.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to trigger some people's ASMR during this podcast recording, hopefully.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah. But
do you feel a bit like it's not really that special having COVID at this point, is it?
No.
Do you feel like you've missed out?
Yeah,
boring.
It would have been cool if I was one of the early adopters, but now I'm just like,
Oh,
I don't
tell
know,
me about
man.
it. I
Would
was
it be cool?
livid. Like, me getting it like a month or so ago, it's like, Jesus, it's just embarrassing at this point. Like, oh, great, you got
Everyone's sick
it
of
2
hearing
years
about it.
late. Well done.
I mean, you talk to Carl Moon, who's constantly nearly on the brink of death. He had it like day one, didn't he? I was like, I don't think it is cool to get it early. I think it's pretty shit.
Actually, let me retract that. I'm very glad I got COVID post-vaccine and the booster. I think
There
that
you
was
go.
probably a good idea.
That's the right answer.
Yeah.
Well done.
Can't believe Josh being cancelled within 30 seconds of being on this show. Unbelievable.
That's what I'm here for.
That's why I've never been on before, because it was always the risk, wasn't it? Bringing an
and it happened
eccentric
so early.
character like
True.
myself on.
So I was going to ask because I couldn't remember if either of you had been on before.
Oh,
Am I right in
yeah.
thinking Darren has?
I've been
Josh
on 3
hasn't?
times before.
Yeah.
He's a free timer, Darren. Yeah.
When was that?
Episode 48. 96 and 152. So I haven't been researching it. I wasn't obsessed when you told me.
I was
this
going to
kind of
say,
sounds
how
like-
do you just?
Have you got those
pluck that
tattoos
out?
on your arm?
not on my arm, no, somewhere else.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Say
no,
no
it's,
more.
it goes something like ukulele, Sea of Thieves, and Dangerous Driving. Those are the games I remember talking about.
Okay.
Fair dues.
All the good
Fair
ones.
dues.
I was going to say, but arguably the 3 games that have defined generations.
I was going to say, yeah.
Defined me as a person, I reckon.
What a selection. Right, we should probably thank our Patreon producers for this month. They are Aaron Patrick, the QuickBooks chap, Simon Nelson, Jack Oven, Moomin Biscuit, Trans Rights are Human Rights, Dave Ernsberger, Colin Brown, Gasman, Happy Birthday Sam and Neil, Gabsy Wabsy, Rocketman76, Rect Reese, Happy New Year Sam, Love from Neil, Grey Dragonclaw, Fred Fenn, Sensible Steve Garrett, Smooth Monkey, Happy Mother's Day Sam, Love from Doctor's Finally Sexy Fan, and Jeff Scred.
Smooth
Did
monkey.
did we agree? Is it Jeff Scred or is it Jeff's Cred?
It can be
We need to
whatever you
find
want
out.
it to be. I mean,
Jeff?
it is
Jeff
a
or
one
Jeff's?
word. It's a one word
Yeah.
name, like Madonna.
Yeah, Jeff Scred.
I've got to say, right, I've got my incense burning. I've got my Matt Haig book next to me, the Book of Calm or the Comfort book. I've got twinkly lights all around me. You reading those Patreon names is so much nicer than David. It just goes right through me, that guy. It's like a cheese grater. Like, it's just my brain starts dribbling. It's just like, nice, calm, Sean.
Well, he got all last
David
time.
listens
he
to this, don't you, Darren?
Yeah,
exactly.
And last time he wasn't on, he got all upset because he's done the judo move on us of like pretending he's got feelings now, so we can't say mean things about him when he's not here.
Okay.
So yeah, those people all went to patreon.com/TCGS, where there are a number of different tiers. We're going to be doing some fishing. We're going to get, not really, I'm not in real life, obviously, that's awful. But in VR, we're going to do a VR co-op. Oh, that's not really co-op, is it? It's not like we're all catching the same
competitive
fish
fishing
and all
or
going like,
just
right, you get a hook in him as
relaxing?
well, fucking. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know
But
if it's going to be
gonna good.
competitive or competitive or co-op, but who cares? Looking forward to some VR fishing for the £8.50 and above tier on Patreon this month. We still need to record our Patreon bonus show as well, which we'll do in the next week or so, I reckon. There's plenty of stuff over there on Patreon, of course.
Yeah, I mean, set dates for those, but Farley is very rudely on an actual holiday, which I'm sure you've all seen on Twitter.
I mean,
sending
arguably,
us-
again, some of the best stuff we've ever done. Like, all our Game of the
Yep.
Year stuff, E3 shows, it's just kind of all pointless, really, because the pictures of James have done better than any of our other content could ever hope to do.
Because what I love about them is that obviously people will see them and just think, like he's just playing up to it, like it's just what he's like. But the messages he's been sending us are like sincere, like him just just being like, oh, everyone's really friendly. Oh, there's too much food. It's so loud. I can't.
Yeah, we haven't had to do a lot of editing. It's basically, okay, we'll just screenshot the text she sent us.
Yeah, pretty much. But I think he has actually had a nice time. I hope he has.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear more when he does get back, because New York is an amazing place. Have either you two been before? Joshua and down.
Yeah, I do. Like, New York is a lovely, lovely city. I like. Controversially, I don't think the pizza is maybe as great as New York likes to think it is. But the bagels, man, the breakfast bagels in New York, absolutely killer, amazing.
I think you need to say, forget about it.
No, because I don't want to offend our American.
I was going to say I've seen that TikTok where the guy gets assaulted for for saying that. Have you ever seen that one?
I haven't.
Oh, it's incredible. I think someone like sort of bumps into him as he's crossing the road and just goes like, "Hey, like I'm walking here," and this woman comes back and just like grabs him by the throat. And it's like, "We don't fucking talk like that. We don't." Oh, it's incredible.
All right, so I've offended Dave Turners and New Yorker people. So yeah. Cool. Okay, I'm doing all right.
It's a very strong start.
Good job.
Both Kane and Rinse cancelled within 10 minutes of the podcast.
That's true. Neither of you have sworn yet, have you?
No,
Fuck.
really.
There you go.
Jesus.
Can't believe it.
Josh is fine. It's nice.
We've got a digital swear jar now, and you have to put it's literally Jay's swear jar, and you have to put like £5 in it every time you swear. That's why we never swear.
And
Jay
does Jay just get the money?
Me here, so I'm free.
He can say whatever the hell he wants.
That's damn right.
Did we have?
He's being
God. All right, steady on, Josh.
Did we have any feedback from the community, Matthew?
We did. We'll start with Corey. Since Sean predicted that Tunic would be on Game Pass, can we officially change the name of Bell's Bullshit Arena? Thanks to the podcast, guys. It's truly a burning flame in an otherwise pretty shitty world at the moment. P.S. I was listening through a recent episode through a speaker, and Matt yelled, "I have a boner." Everyone in the house heard it. Thanks for the podcast, lads. It really is incredible.
Good to hear. I don't think we need to change the name of Bell's Bullshit Arena, right? Because we're just either in it or not. If I say something that happens to be correct, it just means we weren't in Bell's Bullshit Arena. I don't think I get a separate named arena. Yeah, just for saying things that are correct.
Yeah, at the time we think, we're definitely in Bell's Bullshit Arena, but then later you're like, no, actually we never were.
No, we just thought we were.
It's quite a strange place.
And having read that bit of feedback, if you read it out loud and someone else had their phone on speaker, they've heard Matt's got a boner again in the public space. So it just keeps on going and going.
And again, I hope Corey's got this on loud, and it's just like, not again, and then every week, same thing happens.
I mean, is there anything you want to say, Matt, to everyone in Corey's house?
I've got a boner.
Just making it worse.
Brigby, Sean's podcasting habits. This is, I assume, on the last pod, 8 minutes 15 to 8 minutes 24. Sean, please kindly specify what you meant with. Oh, I should have probably done some prep for this. But on the last episode, Sean, you said something, and they want you to specify what you meant by something. When you mentioned, if I'm listening to podcasts, it's because I'm doing or cooking or doing. It's because I'm driving or cooking or doing something. I hope it's as set source as it is in my headcanon.
It's just like housework and stuff, man.
Yeah.
George O'Keefe, I would like to apologise for upsetting Sean on his birthday. Dave had the measure of it when he said it was just banter. I myself use QCY branded earbuds to listen to the podcast, and apart from not having noise cancellation, I don't think they're any better or worse than the more expensive branded alternatives. Whilst Sean's disdain for Apple is admirable, none of the other corporations are any better. I'm genuinely really happy he's enjoying his tray and always enjoy listening every week. Lots of love from George.
No, right, listen. I don't have disdain for Apple. I have an iPad. It's lovely. I find that it's Apple fans who are more weird about like unofficial accessories.
Yeah,
that's all. But yeah, no, I'm glad that you're glad that I'm glad.
Sean,
the
why were you looking
table
at
is
me
still.
when you said that?
I wasn't. I was just looking at the screen.
Oh, okay.
You're all on the screen at the same time.
I mean, funny that it's weird, but no,
because you've got loads of non-Apple stuff. Dave and James are worse for it. They're also not here, conveniently enough.
Oh yeah, so we can rip into them, apart from Dave, who I've always loved.
Yeah, because he has feelings now.
Yeah, apparently.
But yeah.
I do have my Apple stuff, but I also don't mind my AirPods Pro because I'm a wanker.
Your gamer table. I'm surprised you didn't go for the Sea of Thieves round world table thing instead and have that.
Did you know it was suggested, not like seriously, but yeah.
It's
Sorry,
lovely.
there's a what?
I've got it's lovely. It's a round table, and you put stuff on it, and then the world map is the Sea of Thieves world map, and it sits in front of my telly, and it's great. I mean, I know the map off like the back of my hand.
I was going to say, sure, you don't need the map anymore.
I don't need a map, but it's
and
nice
what
anyway.
happens when because sure, at some point they're going to add more to the game, right?
Well, they've added the fortress,
islands.
didn't they? They ain't on the map, are they?
They're not
on the
side
table.
Yeah, can you just scratch them on yourself? Yeah,
That's
Just
it,
get
yeah,
a compass.
Yeah. It's like a little mini coffee table thing. Yeah, it's lush. It cost me like £60. It's all right.
But that's not going to work on the couch, though, is it, Darren? That's what Sean's. That's why Sean's one works. He can have it on the couch with his,
I mean, that's what I said to my 5-year-old when she picked it up and put it on the couch. Look, Dad, look what I'm doing. It's like, no, you put that down on the floor.
Doesn't work there. Put the map
I
down.
bet it doesn't.
Table.
I bet it doesn't charge your phone either, does it? You know what I mean?
I'm taking it back. It's rubbish. Don't like it.
I bet it's not even modular, which Sean's definitely is.
Yeah, 100%. You just can't buy any of the modules.
Josh, gamer table, do you fancy one?
Oh, sorry.
I'm okay. I'm all right. I'll wait 5 years and then see and check in. I'll see how I feel.
This is obviously depending on your living room layout. I fully concede it would be useless to a lot of people because there's been people in the Discord just being like, I don't get it. What's the point? The point is, don't have a table nearby to put anything on. That's all. That's literally all it is. But yeah.
Okay, Jolly Nice Soup. Good morning. On the subject of life-size cardboard cutouts of celebrities, our student house had a Wayne Rooney eating Pringles in the corner of the living room for a few years. My housemate worked in a cinema over the summer and brought it back to liven the place up a bit. Best thing about this story is that his family lived in the West Country and we were based in East Anglia, so he brought the thing back on the train through London, no doubt drawing the gaze of many a confused commuter and increasing sales of tubes of potato-based snacks along the way. Please continue the good work from Jolly.
I'm going to have to take issue with one element of this story. They are not potato-based, Jolly Nice Soup. They are maize-based, I believe.
Right.
Which is why they're technically not crisps.
Technically aren't crisps.
This is going to be like another multi-episode argument, is it? Where it's just like,
it is one of those things that now that I've said it, I'm concerned I've made it up. So I'm just going to quietly check the ingredients for Pringles. You guys carry on, and then in 10 minutes I go, right, don't email in. I've looked it up.
Even if you're right, please don't email in.
The tweets have already been sent, Sean. It's too late.
Yeah. Hey ho.
Good
story though.
Wayne Rooney eating Pringles in the corner of the living room. That sounds like a great housemate to have. Frankly, that's going to bring you joy every time you look at Wayne.
I still like James's idea. I like William Riker in the corner. That sounds like the best. Like you walk into a room and he's smiling that cheeky smile that he does whenever a guest star comes on the Enterprise. You're in for a good day. Like
you could pretend that you're that guest star every time you walk in.
Yes.
As well.
Yes, exactly.
Right, fantastic news. Sorry, fantastic news, everyone. Pringles ingredients, the very first ingredient on the list, dried potatoes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Jolly Nice Soup. I apologise. That is a thing with a well-known crisp, and now I don't know which one it is. My life's a shambles.
Just Google all the crisps, Sean.
Every single one.
Every single one. Yeah.
I'm already bored.
Start now, and it might be done by the end of the pod. Okay, we're going to continue on with Paul. Hey, lads, I mentioned last week that I'll be living the 1 week no commitments fantasy between jobs, and I'll report back on how it went. So here we go. On Monday, not too bad, played a lot of Elden Ring and pottered around the house. Drank a few beers, so far so good. Tuesday morning, rise and shine. Time to seize the day. I made a light-hearted dig at my wife for not getting the Wordle, the geographic... Wordle, the geographic version of Wordle on the first go. The answer was China, and I thought it was funny. She didn't get it, especially as she's of Chinese heritage. She did not think it was funny, not at all. Anyway, no time to smooth things over, as our dog was sick all night, so I had to take her to the vet first thing. On the way there, I'm turning onto a main road, and someone decided to try overtake me on the inside as I was pulling out, causing a major collision and completely fucking up my car. After sitting for a few hours at the vet, I spent the rest of the day on the phone to the insurance company and receiving messages from the other driver saying that he had a solicitor who told him he could refuse to pay anything unless it was proven in court. Fantastic. Wednesday, things only go up from here. I spent the morning taking my car to a smash repairer. My dear mother-in-law was kindly offered her offered her car as a loan for the week. So I make my way out of town on public transport to pick it up and drive it back home. That's basically Wednesday. This sounds already not like a great week. Thursday, pretty uneventful. Lots of Elden Ring, a few afternoon beers. Dog and wife are doing better. Pretty good day. I'm sensing a pattern here already. Friday, to celebrate mother-in-law's 80th birthday, we have a houseboat booked for the weekend.
Wait, 60th. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I added a couple of... 60th. Mother-in-law's 60th. We have a houseboat booked for the weekend. Time to relax and forget my troubles. We drove out to the pickup point a few hours north of the city. Turns out the time we were told to be there was wrong, so the houseboat people were not happy and rushing us to get on board. Whilst hurrying to move the car into the long-term parking, I reversed into a low wall on the pier, stoving the back bumper of the car and denting the exhaust pipe. Yes, my mother-in-law's car. Happy birthday. Luckily, she and my father-in-law were very good sports, and the weekend was mostly actually pretty good. Anyway, I guess I must report, taking a week off to yourself is a disastrous idea, and I cannot recommend it.
Fuck, man. That's so bad. I feel awful.
Should have gone to work.
And just all you have on your plate for a given week is to stay at home and not do anything. And now look.
You're thinking, I'm going to recover from all the stress that's built up from work.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'll just replace it with new stress.
Great. Cool more.
It's like a Wacky's early 2000s stoner comedy, isn't it? It's like, I got a week off to blaze, bruv. And then all these crazy things happen. Dogs sick, cars smashing up, people having a go at you.
It's basically The Hangover, isn't it? It's Hangover 4. Get in touch.
Yeah, but
Hollywood.
ironically at this point, the bit where they were drinking beer was the calmest.
That's true. That's actually fine. Yeah.
It's being sober that caused all the chaos.
Yeah, maybe should have just drank more.
Yeah,
it'd have been all right.
That's a lesson to us all, I think. That is it for feedback. Go to tcgs.co/dear TCGS to leave your feedback or give us a question. Do what you want. You know what I mean?
I'll just leave it. It's up to you.
Yeah,
really.
I'll leave it. Yeah.
I mean, if some of you could send some stuff in, you don't all have to.
Not all at once.
Just work it out between yourselves, really.
Talk amongst yourselves and space it out, and it all works out for the best.
Yeah. Nice one. Right, news. Obviously, Dave isn't here, so I'm hosting, but also I'm doing the news, so I don't have to do a news intro. So people are finding that some digital games bought on PS3 and the PlayStation Vita are magically expiring. So this the first reports of this came out. It was the original port of Chrono Cross, which basically people were loading it up, and it was saying that the purchase expired in 1969, which is not great. And obviously this is not a fantastic look because the remake or remaster, I forget which term we're using, of Chrono Cross has just come out, which apparently runs really badly on the PlayStation 5. Apparently it runs worse than the original did on the PlayStation 1. Also not a good look. But apparently it's been happening with other games as well, including Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy VI, Final Fantasy Origins, Final Fantasy Tactics War of the Lions, and Rune Factory Oceans. I think so. They're all Square Enix. Is Rune Factory Square Enix? I'm not sure.
I believe so. Yeah.
So hopefully this is just some sort of really terrible fuck up, and it will get fixed. But I mean, it has to be, right?
It has to be.
Right?
I mean, like, the 1969 thing is the tip-off, right? Like, that's clearly somebody typed the wrong thing into whatever system they have. But, this is especially with Chrono Cross, it's a real shame because I was legitimately looking forward to that remaster, and it turning out to be a bit of a car crash is a massive shame. But I did, in the back of my head, it's like, oh, okay, if it doesn't turn out great, I've always got the PS1 original on my Vita ready to go. But I can't play it. Which
has this happened to you as well? Has it? Or
I can't play it currently.
Jesus.
And it's just like, Chrono Cross, unlike a lot of other Square RPGs, hasn't had a lot of, re-releases. You can play Final Fantasy VII on pretty much any device. You can play Chrono Trigger on multiple devices.
Yeah.
Like, Chrono Cross has always kind of been locked to the PS1 and through the emulation on the PS3 and the Vita. So to make a mistake like this with this game in particular feels like a bit of a piss take. Like, it's already struggling to find an audience in the modern era. So
Square, they have this kind of weird track record of like, we're bringing it back, like Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, right? It's like, that's an interesting game. Yeah, bring it back. Oh, but accidentally we've made it rubbish, and you're like, oh, come on, you've got the chops for this. You've got the chops.
That's what's so strange, isn't it? It's like do you know what? No one would mind them sort of trading so heavily on their back catalogue. As long as all the ports, remasters, remakes, whatever, were all solid, but it just feels like a coin toss every single time. Because I know that the Final Fantasy VI one is still on its way, isn't it? And I know people are sort of booting off because like some sections are being done in sort of pseudo 3D and stuff, and it's like, is this necessary? Like, is that an enhancement, or is that just you going, this bit would have looked better if we'd done it in 3D actually, which is kind of is that a shitty comment on the original? Do you know what I mean?
It's especially weird with their need to mess around with games like Final Fantasy VI and the PC version of Chrono Trigger when it originally came out. It had like this enforced smoothing on all of the pixels.
Oh, that's right.
And they had to update it to make it look like the original game. Like, why are you messing with those games? Like, Final Fantasy VI and Chrono Trigger, like, they hold up. Like, those games are classics for a reason. And people would genuinely be happy with just like, and the most up-to-date definitive version of those classic games. You don't need to modernize them that much. This isn't a PlayStation 1 era situation. Like, people like pixel art, people like that style. So just leave them alone. But yeah.
And it's interesting because like, I know, Josh, we've had this conversation where I keep thinking like I should really play the original Final Fantasy Tactics because I really enjoyed Final Fantasy Tactics Advance 1 and 2. But again, I was like, which is the version I'm supposed to play now? Because I know there's been a couple, and and as you say, I remember you saying it's War of the Lions is the one, right? But again, it's that uncertainty because you should be able to go into these situations thinking, well, surely the most recent version is the best, but that's just, you can't necessarily.
It's just a coin toss with Square Enix, especially.
So bit of an odd one. Hopefully this is a mistake, because surely, I mean, what a horrible precedent to set if it turns out a publisher is allowed to just revoke access to things you've purchased. Watch this space, I guess. Speaking of rights disputes, Bandai Namco have released, so this is part of Bandai Namco's arcade archives, and they've released Pac-Land, which is obviously one of the older Pac-Man games, which originally featured Ms. Pac-Man, but in this release features Pac-Mom, which I didn't know was a thing. And And basically, this is them getting around the ongoing... I mean, it's not really a rights dispute as such. Do you guys know about this weird situation around Ms. Pac-Man?
I tried to read it today, and it kind of made my brain go in like pieces. I was like, I don't understand any of it.
It's a really strange one. So I'll try and be brief. So obviously Pac-Man came out in the arcades, quite good. Quite a lot of people liked it. Made an absolute shit ton of money. But at the time, Namco were not quick enough in terms of like getting a sequel out. So interest was waning in the original. And then basically 7 kids from MIT decided to get together and make their own like sort of pseudo sequel. So they made, this is back in the day where you could basically build your own like daughter board, which plugged into the original, arcade hardware, and would then effectively like, patch or upgrade the game. So they created Ms. Pac-Man with no, rights to do so whatsoever. But they did it anyway, just as kind of a hobby thing, I think, initially. And then everyone loved it. It turned out it was like performance was better. It was just a better game all round. I gather it was, it's still considered superior to the actual Pac-Man sequel. I think was it Super Pac-Man that came out after. Anyway, so it did really well, and they were kind of like, right, like actual arcade owners are wanting to buy this off us. Because, I mean, you can imagine if you own an arcade, it makes sense in the same way that, like, DLC makes sense to us now as consumers, because they were like, oh, so I can spend, like, a relatively small amount of money and just plug this into my existing cabinet and not have to buy a new one. So they approached Midway, who were handling distribution in the US at the time, and then they got through to Namco. And basically, Namco were just like, yeah, cool. Obviously, we now... Basically, they took the rights to the character of Ms. Pac-Man, but these guys from MIT were still allowed the royalties. They had basically had a license to continue to receive royalties with whatever happened with Ms. Pac-Man in future. Fast forward to, I forget when, like 2010s, I think, and this company called At Games, who produce these sort of mini arcade units and stuff. And put, like dozens of games on them or whatever. They don't own Ms. Pac-Man, but they bought the rights to the royalties from the MIT kids. So they could then produce these consoles, whatever, little arcade units, and get permission to put Ms. Pac-Man on it as they normally would, but then also receive some more of those royalties that would have initially gone to the original developers. And basically Namco sort of turned around and said, well, we, that was a deal we made in good faith because these guys actually made the game and it was a huge success. Who the fuck are you? Like, yeah. So it's not that At Games don't have, or that nobody has the rights to Ms. Pac-Man. Like, Bandai Namco have the rights to Ms. Pac-Man. It's just that they don't want to pay the people they would legally have to in order to use the character. So and now we've got this re-release of Pac-World that has Pac-Mom instead.
What happened to Pac-Dad? And is Pac-Man
not around.
Pac-Dad? Or
right.
Ms. Pac-Man, would that imply divorced Pac lady, and therefore...
I mean, I didn't realise there was so much lore, but now I'm quite interested
there is
in what the game is.
Because of this name change, right? It's just wide open. Before it was just fine. It's just Pac-Man with a bow. Brilliant, go for it. And now it's like, no, you've called it Pac-Mom, and now what do you... I mean, Smash Bros. Ultimate's going to have to get a patch, and it's just like, oh, God.
That's true.
Yeah, there will be more characters.
New amiibos and all sorts.
So, it's an interesting problem. It's also weird in terms of, if you're buying like a new version of an old arcade game that you remember, you probably don't want any changes to have been made. I mean, obviously switching Ms. Pac-Man to Pac-Mom is probably not the end of the world. She has pink gloves instead of red ones, I think, and instead of a bow, does she have like a little tuft of hair, and she wears stilettos instead of boots.
Looks very much like a Little Miss Splendid now, actually, from the Mr. Men series. There's another lawsuit waiting to happen. Roger Hargreaves on the phone. You're fine. It's Miss Splendid, actually.
Again, it's just a weird precedent for companies just going, we'll just fucking change it for this re-release.
I mean,
does it matter in this case? Probably not.
It's
But
just
yeah,
the sound of the fun being sucked out of the industry there.
a little bit. Yeah.
I love the fact that we'll just put a different hat on it, and so that's it. That's our work done.
Completely different character.
Yeah, I mean, a hat does change someone. Some people do suit hats, others don't. When you see someone who never wears a hat suddenly wearing, new hat,
hat,
and vice versa. It's like when it's
the
like
clothes
when,
you wear does change the persona that you present to the rest of the world, right? Like,
absolutely.
I'm wearing a suit, I am just going to act more professional than I would do if I'm wearing jeans and a shirt.
I see, I
right?
don't
Are you
know,
wearing a
'cause
suit
when
right now, Joshua?
Yes,
I mean,
that's
is
my
your-
secret. Yeah.
That makes sound so damn good.
See, whenever I put a suit on, I just feel like an imposter. I never got over that. Like I feel, quite comfortable with myself and the fact that I'm a grown adult, but putting a suit on, don't feel right.
How about you flip it and put like a potato sack on, then you feel like the king of the world.
That's
right?
true.
It'd
Yeah,
be amazing.
I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
All you
that's it.
fuckers wearing suits.
Yeah.
Turn up to a funeral. Just a Hessian sack.
Yeah, or black tie event. You're like, here's my black tie. Look at this.
Yeah. Deal with that.
That's 2 more for the swear jar, Josh. But you're paying
Just
my
off the
bank
rails.
this week. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're going mad. I'm going to coin it
Very
in this
expensive
month.
episode.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Sean, just wear a suit every day for a month, and then suddenly you were like, actually, no, not
Do you
wearing a
reckon I'll
suit.
just
is
instantly
weird,
feel
not
natural?
dressed.
I think it's partly
do
like,
that.
I mean, I hate even like wearing shirts now, right? Because even though I've always been like anti-suit, I've always, nice checked shirt. It's fine. Deal with that. Pair of chinos or jeans, smart jeans, obviously, not too scruffy. But now I fucking tucking anything in can fuck off.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just because my guts has gotten bigger, so just as soon as I move, it's all pulling out everywhere. I'm tucking it back in every 2 seconds. I hate it.
I'm relatively slim these days due to lots of running and exercise. And
right.
I don't tuck
Jesus, show
anything.
off.
No, but just the tucking in, it's just like, no, come on. Like bullshit. Like I think it's just a dad thing, isn't it? It's just like, whatever. Don't give a shit anymore. I don't care. I'm too tired to care.
Yeah. Right. Lego and Epic Games have announced a new partnership.
Yes.
And this is interesting. So, quote, they have announced a long-term partnership to shape the future of the metaverse, with a focus on building a safe space for young players. It basically sounds like they are making a Roblox, but that very much addresses, the things we've all heard about Roblox in the last few months. I mean, if you're not familiar, Chris Bratt's YouTube channel, People Make Games, has done like a couple of very interesting. I say Chris Bratt. Obviously, it was Quinns who did a lot of the work on these as well. Basically how shitty and exploitative Roblox can be. And so it's interesting that, because obviously its success shows that it does something that people want. The notion that Lego are going to get involved and do something similar that is apparently going to be a safe space for young players, that is interesting and potentially really positive. Don't know, any of your, I mean, Josh, no, you don't have kids, but any of your kids into Roblox, Matt and Darren?
We've got it installed in the Xbox. LED's played it a bunch. Loads of her friends, or the boys and the girls in her class, were talking about it, and so and also she watches loads of YouTube videos where people are playing Roblox, and so as a result, she wanted to play it. I mean, she prefers kind of other games, like anything else, such as Minecraft or Kirby at the moment, or The Sims. So she hasn't played it that much, but she's certainly interested in it. I think she probably watches way more than she plays.
Yeah, and with my little one, she doesn't really play it. She finds it all too fiddly. Like the menus are really complicated, and like for a 5-year-old, they're just like there's too many things to look at and press. Like the UI is just all over the place in some of the games. But my little godson / nephew, he's still my nephew.
Does that change?
I mean, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know what the rules are.
Yeah, what happens if you? It doesn't matter. Let's move on. They're called Stanley. They're a nice. They're nice people. He's a nice person. Or Yeah, and he plays lots of Roblox. He comes around and he's like, "Can I have your driving license to get my account onto 18 plus?" I was like, "No, but we can get my account onto 18 plus, so you can do voice chat because it's in beta, right?" Oh my god, he put it on and he went to some. It looked like some sort of knockoff GTA version or something. And people were terrible. And he's like,
really?
11, or they're only 11. And they're like, "Excuse me, I'm only 11. Can you be nice to me, please?" And they're like, this and that. And I was like, "That's enough of that, Stanley. Let's turn it off now, yeah?" It was just like, wow. If voice chat ever made it to a public space in Roblox, without having to put your driving license or passport on there, it'd just be carnage because it's terrible. It was, yeah.
God,
even from my calloused ears from 39 years of living, that was enough for me. I was like, okay, Roblox is madness.
Yeah, and it's a shame because on paper it does, because it's one of those games that I sort of was aware of, and I was aware it was huge, but for years I was just like, yeah, but what is it? I don't actually know. And then I can't remember who it was. A fellow dad explained it to me, like, oh yeah, it's like. It is actually, on paper, this really interesting, creative tool.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've really sort of, so A, toxic community, and B, I say toxic community, kids, right? Kids who don't know better. And B, they really push this, like, oh, you could make stuff and get paid money. I forget the details now, but I gather they do so in quite an exploitative way, whereas, this press release, the Lego thing, really sort of pushes the child safety side of things. So, this has probably been in the works before the controversy around Roblox came out, but is clearly like this is now sort of being positioned in reaction to that, I think.
And two mega companies coming together to make arguably strong competition. You never know what's going to happen because Roblox has been running away with it for what feels like forever, right? I can't remember the time when Roblox didn't exist. So for these two kind of juggernauts to come along and hopefully knock Roblox off the top, it should be interesting. It should be interesting.
Yeah. Right, next thing. Matt and I discussed this earlier. So we obviously in the news section we generally don't do like, oh, this game just got announced, but there's been a load of announcements this week, and one of them is particularly special. So we got the announcement that Return to Monkey Island is coming out this year, an actual new Monkey Island game, crucially helmed by Ron Gilbert.
Nice.
And Dave Grossman, who were responsible for the first two Monkey Island games. Sorry, can you hear that in the background? Mara, what are you doing? What the fuck are you doing?
Like Josh's beard or something. I thought that was...
No, it's just my dog who will not let us clip her claws on a fucking laminate floor. In your bed. Go on.
Can you not get like some slippers for your dog or something?
That is an idea now that you mention
it's a good one, isn't it?
That is actually
you
a good
can have
idea.
that one.
Surely that's been on Dragon's Den. Surely these things must exist.
Doggo's Den. I did it.
Yeah. Come on, Sean. There must be some slippers for dogs.
I'm going to check after the show. I'll let you know. Right, yeah. So we're getting a new Monkey Island game. Crucially, Ron Gilbert is working on it, which is really interesting. It's been published by Devolver, which I initially thought was weird because obviously Disney own Monkey Island now, but then I remembered they don't really, since Disney sort of acquired LucasArts, they've been good at letting people have properties to mess with. Obviously, we had the Grim Fandango remaster, for example, was one thing that like Tim Schafer had been trying to get done for years, but there was just no one was there at LucasArts to pick up the phone anymore. And then once Disney bought it, I can't remember where he talked about this, but yeah, he's like, we're finally able to just get through to someone and just be like, look, you don't know, but you've just bought this thing that you don't really care about, but we really do. Can we please just have it? And like, you can have some money, but we just really want to re-release this thing. And yeah, and they were really receptive to that. And then obviously we had, the Pirates of the Caribbean stuff in Sea of Thieves, etc.
Yeah.
So Disney have been, good at sort of recognizing when it's all right to just let these things go out to other people, basically.
Speaking of Sea of Thieves, didn't you also have Monkey Island stuff in Sea of Thieves?
Well, yeah, there was a Monkey Island Easter egg in the Pirates of the Caribbean stuff. So obviously at the time everyone's like, well, fuck, are we gonna? What's this? Like,
is this hinting? Yeah.
Yeah. It could still be. I don't know. but obviously this is obviously a much more concrete return to Monkey Island, which is really cool. It's set after Monkey Island 2. And obviously there was a 3 and a 4. Was it 3 and 4 and then the Telltale series? I can't remember.
Yeah.
But I know that obviously depending on who you speak to, like I'm pretty sure 3 is supposed to be canon, but this might change that somewhat.
Yeah, so 3 was the Curse of Monkey Island, right? I believe.
Was Curse of not the first one? I can't remember.
I thought it was the third, because that's the only one I've played.
I can certainly
and,
check. Sorry, no, you're right.
Loads when we were younger.
Sorry, Curse of Monkey Island was the third one, you're right. Well, because Curse of Monkey Island was one that, like, when we first got a PC, because, back in the day, it wasn't necessarily guaranteed that you'd have any sort of computer in the house. I remember the demo of Curse of Monkey Island was just like, holy shit, look at this. This is better than the SNES, isn't it? Like,
yeah, this is a real computer game.
Yeah, just like, I don't know, just a real sense. It's like, oh, I'm playing something like well beyond what I've seen before. Like the animation, all the voice acting, funny jokes. Hadn't really seen funny jokes in a computer game before. So that was a real sort of eye opener for me. So yeah, I still stand by Curse of Monkey Island, but I think a lot of people are like, no, like, most of the original team didn't really work on it. It's not the same.
Oh, typical. The one I played is the one actually people are like, no, this is the rubbish one. But that's one I have such fond memories of.
Rubbish. It's just, I think some people feel it was like missing something. But yeah, I mean, I'm really fucking excited about this.
Yeah, what I liked about this is one, it's got is it Dominic Armato as like
the voice actor,
yeah. So it's same voice as Guybrush Threepwood, and artwork wise, it looks gorgeous. I think it's done by someone working on it worked on Tearaway, and another game as well. Yes. Which I should have played more. Obviously, we've only seen like a very kind of initial brief like teaser trailer, but already the artwork, it looks gorgeous, and it's obviously a bit of a departure from how it looked before, but it looks like it's a gorgeous modernized version of how
it feels in keeping with the personality of the series. It's more up to date, but it feels like it honors the spirit of those original games.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just nice to see a beloved series come back and it not be like a case of like Kickstarting or Patreon. Yeah. It's just like, they've just got a job now and it's great. It's a job they really love doing and someone's actually paying for it. It's like, finally, we're coming back to like actual publishing games now as opposed to like digital begging, I guess. You know what I mean? It's like, thank you. Like Ron Gilbert's got work. Brilliant. Fantastic. Yeah.
Because I wasn't sure what he was working on, because I know he was definitely at Double Fine for a while. I think he helped with Broken Age, but then after that I wasn't really sure what he was working on. Oh, that's right, he worked on The Cave, didn't he? But apparently they've already been at this for several years, so hence why it's out this year.
So if Phil Spencer wants to give Chris Seaver and Sean Pyle of Gory Detail a job to make a new Conker game, I mean, now's the time, right? Now's the fucking time. Fuck's sake.
And then what else did we have? So Crystal Dynamics have announced that they are doing a new Tomb Raider game made in Unreal Engine 5. Apparently they've only just started development, so I'm guessing this is years off.
2026.
Yeah, so
my God.
But I'm glad to hear this, because obviously after that trilogy it felt like this is amazing, they've really brought Tomb Raider back, they've reimagined it, this is so cool. And then sort of it felt like with the second and third one the interest sort of waned somewhat. Keen to see what they do with it again.
Yeah, because there was an Unreal Engine 5 event last week where they it ended or had talks and developers, of which Crystal Dynamics was one, and they announced that the new game's been built in Unreal Engine 5, but they also had a image towards the end of this where it said, here's all the people that are working on Unreal Engine 5 games, and there was a lot of people, unsurprisingly, working on it.
Radical.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. That I mean, I think everyone is basically working on seemingly an Unreal Engine 5 game.
So once Crystal D, once they sort out, Joanna Dark's kind of misadventures at the moment, they can, old Lara
They've
back
got a
on
lot on,
track.
haven't they?
They got a lot of female protagonist, empowerment going on. Go for it. Just don't mess up Perfect Dark for me.
I do hope that this next Tomb Raider kind of rediscovers a bit of the series fun, because the third one was really, really dark and really, really grim. To the point where Lara Croft, like, I genuinely started to think, not in the kind of, I know there's the whole, like, ludonarrative dissonance thing with the Uncharted series, not in that way. I mean, genuine, like, text, the actions she takes in the plot made her seem like a serial killer. So I really hope that, like, that they look at the reaction to that third game, and I appreciate that Crystal Dynamics didn't actually make that third game. It was
did they not?
Eidos Montreal, wasn't
it? Right.
So I shouldn't lay that at their feet. But like, just that there's a middle ground between what that Tomb Raider reboot did for the character, and I felt was very, very necessary to kind of re-establish that character for the modern audience, but also the more adventurous, more campy, frankly, tone of those original games. I think that there's room for that kind of tone to come back, especially with Uncharted kind of being in a bit of a dormant state right now.
Yeah, it's weird because when the trilogy got announced, and the first one I thought was fantastic. It wasn't perfect, obviously, by any stretch, but really, really good. The second one arguably improved on it in every way. But I was, at that point, kind of a bit bored. I did finish it, but I wasn't as excited. I guess maybe I was just bored of the format.
It didn't feel as big of a step change, right? Like, because
no.
I think that first game got a lot of things right from the word go, right? It wasn't like Uncharted 1 to Uncharted 2, there's a big leap in quality, right? It didn't feel like that. It just felt like a refinement. And then the third one added all those weird stealth sections with insta-death piranha, which was a great idea.
I mean, I didn't even bother with the third one, even though I loved the first, enjoyed, but didn't bother going any further than the second. So that's weird. But we were talking about this in a week about what could I do with a new Tomb Raider? Would it be kind of more open world? Would it be a little bit like Horizon Zero Dawn, but not quite so expansive? But I mean, that obviously I've talked about how, not Horizon Zero Dawn, Forbidden West, talked about how gorgeous that game looks. Just imagine where we'll be in like 5 years' time with a Tomb Raider where it could be a little bit more open world, maybe not quite as huge of a landscape as Forbidden West, but it'd be interesting to see what they do, because I think it does need shaking up.
It's going to be a kart race, isn't it? They're going to call it Tomb Racer. It's going to be great.
Yes,
man. Around
That's
like a cabin on the ceilings, and all sorts. Be like Batmobile stuff on the ceiling, around the corners, blasting around. Yeah,
it'd just be like
punting bears in the face.
It'd just be like Forza Horizon 5, where you're just like bombing through like ancient sacred ruins.
Yeah. At least like Forza Horizon 5 does stop you crashing into the ruins, whereas this game would not. Like, you can just fucking plow through
you
and
properly
guns blazing.
Those
everyone's
those
Lara Croft
places.
in different outfits.
Yeah.
There's no characters. It's just Lara, and that's it. Lara in wetsuit or whatever. It's fine.
Shoot a load of endangered animals, etc.
Yeah,
it's you basically just bombing in that card through all the things you just mentioned, but every now and then it will just cut to like an origin story flashback, and then cut back to the racing. Yes, smash through ruins, and that is basically that for 16 hours. You just drive them forward.
Someone needs to make a kart race though with like a serious narrative.
Yeah,
I'd play that. That'd be good.
Who would be the best at doing that? Who would you give that to?
Fuck.
Kojima?
Yeah, Kojima do it. He'd do a good job.
I'm imagining a kart racer made by From Software, where every time you unlock a new car, you have to read the description for the car to find out more about the narrative.
Had to turn it on. No, isn't there a bit in Death Stranding where he's in like a go-kart or something? Have I seen that?
I mean, there's loads of vehicles in Death Stranding, so that could
like
be
specifically a go-karting thing, right? I think I've seen it in the director's cut.
So there is like a racing element in the new one where you can build kind of circuits and whatnot.
He's already done it. All right, cool.
Yeah, he's laying the groundwork for this, I think.
Yeah. Death Stranding was just an excuse to build the kart tech.
Yeah, he knew Tomb Racer was happening. He's like, I'll just I don't care about Death Stranding, the baby stuff and the weird oil and the beach. Like, let's just do this as like this is a test bed. This is a concept really ready for the real work on Tomb Racer.
Jeff Keighley, his hologram in a go-kart.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the other announcement is we're getting a remake of Max Payne 1 and 2 by Remedy.
That's like remake or remaster.
The headline says remake.
The wording in the press release makes it sound like it's a proper remake. Like they're going in and making it a new engine.
Constellation
which I'm well up for.
What do you reckon? The old, Sam Lake's squatting face, like he's going to take a massive shit. Is that staying on there?
That'll definitely be an Easter egg. But that'll be something you can unlock for sure.
It's in 3. Max Payne 3 has that.
But yeah, apparently they've reached an agreement with. Obviously, this was originally published by Rockstar, and Rockstar are funding it, and Remedy are making it. So that's
after the Pac-Mom dispute, this is just nice, isn't it? Just to go, Ron, I can't remember. Gilbert's making a new Monkey Island game, and these guys are making Max Payne happen again. It's not all bad news, is it?
Yeah. I wonder if they'll fix the nightmare section. Maybe they'll make that good this time. Be something, wouldn't it?
I don't think Control is a perfect game. I had my issues with it, but if you can make these Max Payne games with combat that feels as good as Control, that would be great.
Yeah, totally. It'll be fun to see. I was a big fan of the first. I definitely played the second, but I don't remember half as much of it now. It was a long time ago, but it'd just be fun to see how the dialogue has aged and stuff, because it was never trying. It was kind of intentionally silly, wasn't it? Albeit quite bleak. So I wonder if that still works now. But we'll see.
Yeah, it's interesting. Rockstar definitely not making this remake after their previous GTA trilogy success. You do that. We'll just give you the name.
Yeah, thankfully this has gone back to the original creators and not just a team who are just there to do the remake. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. There's no indication about when this will be out, right?
No, I don't think so. No. Which again, hopefully sort of points towards it being a substantial remake as opposed to remaster. So that's cool.
And then if they could FPS boost Max Payne 3 and make the loading times better on my Series S, then I'd be happy too, because I love Max Payne 3. But
does that not have an FPS boost?
No, it's just a standard kind of backwards compatible jobby, and the loading times are long.
Really?
Oh, come on. I love that game, but I've seen the cutscene so many times, and you can only take so much dreariness. You're like, okay, Max, you're sad. Let's get on with it. Shoot some people in the face.
We're also getting a new Need for Speed in this November.
Here's the real news.
Yeah. It's going to be exclusive.
This is the real...
Yeah.
This is it.
And it's going to be exclusive to next, i.e. current gen consoles. So it's going to be PS5 and Series X/S. Only and PC as well. This is developed by Criterion, which is, I think that's still good news, right? I can't remember how much of Criterion is still the same as it was back in the day, but certainly rather them doing it than anyone else.
Because whenever a Need for Speed game was announced, excuse me, be like, is it Criterion or Ghost Games? Is it Criterion or Ghost Games? Ghost Games. She's like, I'll give it a miss then, shall I? But Ghost Games was mainly Criterion's former employees. You're like, yeah, but there's something at the Criterion studio where it's even though Alex Field and that went to make 3 Fields Entertainment, or Alex Ward, sorry, went to make 3 Fields Entertainment, there's still something about the Criterion name that has that kind of extra polish. And you're like, yep, I'm in for this one.
Yeah. I'll be keen to see, because obviously there was what was the last one they put out? Because I remember there was a trailer for it, and it was like, they're just doing Fast and Furious, basically.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people were up for. I've tried to watch a Fast and Furious film once and just found it honestly, I've never felt so old.
Yeah.
I was just absolutely bewildered. It was just noises and colours and lights and I don't know.
Have these people heard of a script? Come on.
They need scripts. They got cars. That's all they need.
Yeah,
but we were just talking about, why can't there be a kart race with a serious story? I mean,
this is it. Yeah.
This could be. But I didn't play the previous ones where they had a story. But I think there's a place for a silly, over the top story in racing. But it seems like the previous ones haven't done what they needed to do.
Yeah. So, interesting to see what direction this goes in.
But this was announced in 2020. It's just that it got like delayed.
Oh, is it? All right, it's still that one then.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Right.
Sorry,
they confirmed a new Criterion developed Need for Speed game was in the works at the end of 2020.
Right.
And then it got like, it'll be out before fiscal 21.
Yeah.
And then that was delayed to like fiscal 23. And so this is still that one, yeah.
Blimey. Oh, well, fingers crossed.
Hopefully it does better than the new Battlefield.
Yeah. Wouldn't take much though, would it? We've saved the best for last. Kingdom Hearts 4 has been announced.
Yay.
So I didn't I thought Kingdom Hearts 3 basically ended Sora's story. That was the impression.
That's my understanding as well.
Yeah.
I haven't completed it, but
yeah. But this is very much definitely Sora slightly more grown up, and looking unnervingly realistic.
Yeah. I can't wait to see Goofy and Donald walk around and interacting with like really realistic human beings. That's going to be great.
Yeah.
My reaction to this was I'm really, really happy for Brian and Leah over at Kane and Rince. And I really look forward to being on a future Kane and Rince recording with both of them just giddy with joy. And I'm just there going, yeah, it's fine. It's okay. Yeah.
That's your opinion on everything, though, isn't it? He's just like, yeah, it's fine.
I am capable of joy, Darren. Just not.
It's been a while, Josh.
Come
on, mate. It's been a while, mate.
I mean, Matt, I assume you've never played any of these.
No, but again, it's another one. I'm like, well, I loved Final Fantasy VII Remake. Would I like these?
Well, I mean,
like,
yeah, because obviously
like the
kind of
combat,
yeah, because it's basically the same combat, more or less.
I mean, genuinely, Kingdom Hearts 2 is a solid action RPG. Like it's a really fun combat system, but it comes with the big, massive caveat, which is all of Kingdom Hearts' story. Basically, whenever an anime-looking character talks in one of those games, you might as well fall asleep because you're just not going to understand a word that they're saying.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh, Matt, maybe you could stream it. Kingdom Mats.
Oh, yeah.
Kingdom Mats.
Honestly, like it would be the perfect streaming series.
Because it'll be a game that is, I assume, a very long game.
They are, to be fair.
They are very long.
I just don't think that works like
breezy.
once a week on like Sunday night. What are the controls again? What happened? If you're saying the story's bonkers anyway.
Well, the story doesn't make sense either way, so don't worry about that. That will sort of be why it would be funny, just watching you try and piece it all together.
Watching you in bafflement hear an old guy say the word darkness in the same sentence for the 5th fucking time will just be comedy gold.
Voiced by Christopher Lee, no less.
Yeah, somehow, implausibly, they managed to find the budget for Christopher Lee.
Yeah, man. And like David Boreanaz and a load of other genuinely famous people.
Yeah, and yeah, God.
Absolutely fascinating series. I honestly don't know how it's like got to this point.
I don't know how Disney... Like, I can understand Disney of the early 2000s allowing Kingdom Hearts to exist. How is Disney now allowing this series to exist? Like, it seems baffling that they would let...
It must make some fucking money, right? That's the only explanation.
But it is so weird, though, isn't it? Like Mickey Mouse and like all the classics, and then you got just complete gibberish on the other side. It's like, no, where's the quality control, guys? Oh, well, you lost it ages ago. What's the difference now? It's like
my favorite little factoid about Kingdom Hearts. There's an organisation called Organisation 13. Matt, how many members does Organisation 13 have?
If you had to guess.
I'm going to say something silly. I think 13.
No, it's 14 because there's a secret extra member of Organisation 13.
Don't stream it, Matt. Don't stream it.
Well, I don't need to now. Josh has spoiled the biggest.
I've just spoiled it for you.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
The whole series is ruined now.
Absolutely ruined.
I mean, from the trailer, I liked the world looked incredibly realistic, and then that character's just there. So that's interesting, and you do see like some of the Disney characters towards the end of that trailer, but they're not really in the world. So that's going to be interesting to see how that looks, at least.
Yeah, they're going to make a film out of this soon, aren't they? That's what they're going to do.
They're going
to line it up. It's going to go all MCU or whatever. It's going to be like the Kingdom Hearts cinematic universe.
Well, like that's the way Disney makes its ultimate cinematic universe, isn't it? They release Kingdom Hearts, and it's like the Avengers for all of their franchises simultaneously. There you go.
It's one of those series where it is easy to poke fun. Like as you say, Josh, there are definitely things about it to recommend. To recommend them, but they're just very odd.
I mean, like honestly, I am totally on board with enjoying Kingdom Hearts in like for what it is. Like it's a silly, over the top, breezy series. Like I totally understand why it has its fans. There is a segment of the audience that takes the lore and the storytelling super seriously, and I am a little bit baffled by that.
Yeah,
but there we go.
I mean, if
there's also people thinking that actually there's a scene or there's a still from the trailer where it shows like an ATST and some Star Wars stuff.
Is that so? I missed that.
Yeah. A lot of people seem to think. Now, hang on. Is this teasing?
I don't think
Star
it's in
Wars
the
stuff?
trailer. I think they've confirmed it after the fact that Star Wars is definitely going to be in Kingdom Hearts 4.
Fucking hell.
Which, fair enough. They've done Tron. They've done
That's
Pirates
true,
of the
actually.
Caribbean.
Yeah. But
I might play it. They're getting Kanto in there. Encanto, Frozen, Luca, and some Moana I might be in.
I mean, they probably are going to put Marvel stuff in as well, right? If they're doing Star Wars.
If they're doing, why not?
Yeah.
Spider-Man world. Do it.
It's going to be huge.
I mean, Matt, I don't know if you've ever seen it. Brian David Gilbert, when he was at Polygon.
Yeah, he's amazing.
He's done an incredible video about untangling the story of Kingdom Hearts. It's
cool. No, I haven't. No, I got into him pretty late, only like a year or two ago. I think it actually it was just in his last few months of being at Polygon.
Yeah.
And I watched loads of videos because, he's an absolute genius, but I don't think I've seen that one. But I'll seek it out.
Well worth.
The intro to his Halo novel.
The Halo one is incredible. I mean, so many of them are unbelievably good. What a hero.
That's all the news. Let's talk about what we've been playing. Darren, do you want to go first?
Yeah, go on then. I don't really have much time and energy for gaming these days.
Fucking hell, what have we even brought you on for?
I'm such a completely different person now, man. Like, I can't sit and play a game on my own because I just get bored. I'm mainly a cooperative kind of guy now. I play Sea of Thieves with Nick Souters and Simon Nelson. One of the Patreon producer. We play that kind of every week, although it's been a bit busy lately, so we've been we press pause on it for now. I played Trine with Leon Cox. You may have heard of him. We've been playing quite a few co-op games like every Thursday, just a session a week. We did It Takes Two, A Way Out, and then most recently Trine, and I really enjoyed it. I've never really played it on seriously before. I say seriously, through to completion, to which we did, and it's just hilarious. Just like the physics-based kind of stuff is still really good fun, and solving puzzles together while brain dead of an evening is just the perfect kind of vibe that I'm going for.
Because what are you playing this on? Because my wife, who generally does not play games, ended up playing this on the Wii U because it was one of the 4 games available when the Wii U came out. I was like, yeah, fuck it, I'll buy Trine. Why not? Yeah, she ended up loving it.
Yeah, we're playing it on the Xbox, Series S for me and X for Leon. So when we play Sea of Thieves, Simon Nelson likes to get really drunk and he just buys games for everyone. Guys, I bought everyone copies of Trine. We're like, okay, when are we going to get around to playing this? Excuse me. And we never did. So, and because I game share with Leon on the Xbox, by game share, I mean I peel for his account. And, I was like, I've got Trine 1 to 4 because Simon doesn't do anything by halves. Like he goes all in. It's like, I've got a whole collection for you, Darren. I was like, okay, cheers, buddy. I really appreciate it, but don't regret it in the morning. And he's like, I spent about £100 on Trine last night, didn't I? I was like, yeah, you did, mate. Yeah.
Oh, we've all done that, though. Am I right?
He bought us
the
copies of
amount of
Donkey
times,
Konga
like,
3,
God.
like Japanese imports. He's like, oh, you like Donkey Konga, don't you? I was like, yeah. He goes, I bought you a copy of 3. I was like, was you drunk, Simon? Really was, yeah. I was like, oh, okay, mate. He's like, thank you. Like, I appreciate it, but please stop buying me video games when you're drunk because it's out of my control. Anyway, so we're playing Trine and we've played it and yeah, it's great. And we're playing it on the Xbox Series S, and it's just nice to just have these like pick up and play games, and there's no kind of commitment to, like each other. You know what I mean? Like when you play co-op games with someone, you feel like there's pressure to carry on playing it all the time, but it's just really chill. It's just like, oh yeah, let's just play it this week, and if you're not around, it's not around. It doesn't really matter. Playing old games, I find to be a benefit to that kind of attitude, and because you're not playing if it was Elden Ring, you'd be like pressured to kind of, or the self pressure to keep up with the rat race, so to speak.
Yeah,
but
let's
just play a game from 10 years ago. It's fine.
Yeah, you're not playing it to have an opinion on it. You're just playing it because it's enjoyable. Imagine that.
Yeah, I really like playing as the lady with the grappling hook, and because it reminded me of Worms, basically. So there you go.
Because so it's the one with the grappling hook. There's the sort of the soldier knight guy, and then the wizard who can create boxes.
That's it. It's pretty much like an advanced
really
version of the Lost Vikings.
It's a really boring wizard. Let's be honest.
It is a weird, weirdly specific.
My power is to create furniture.
But it's not even. Yeah, it's literally just this one shape and size of box.
Well, he can make planks and triangle boxes float in midair.
Sorry, I've underestimated him.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, hey man, this is why we don't talk about games until we complete them, because you don't know what you're talking about.
That's true.
Jesus,
God,
savage takedown there by me. But
first the Pringles stuff, now this wizard box shit.
I'm up for this. Come on,
I'm getting kicked off the show, man. I'm getting replaced. I can feel it.
But in actual other game space time before school is a new thing that we do now. Me and Ivy, my little girl, we play a video game just because it's something different to do. Because after 3 years of doing my routine in the mornings, I'm like, this is so boring. Let's do something different. We've been playing a game called Rainbow Billy and the Cursed Leviathan.
Have you made this up?
No, it sounds like, honestly, if I was to make a game, this would be the kind of game I would like to play or make myself, because it's just like it's like Paper Mario.
Okay.
But with like the theming of kind of Zelda Wind Waker. So he's in a boat and he goes around traveling to different islands, but he's 2D. He's made out of paper. And then instead of having fights in like a JRPG kind of Paper Mario fashion, he kind of has confrontations, and you have to like talk them down. There's no fighting in it. You just chat to him. And the angry guy on the other side, it's like a dinosaur. He's like, all the colour's been sucked out of him because it's like a Nintendo style game. So what you need to do is just have a conversation with him to like calm him down and put the colour back into their soul. It's like, hey man, just chill out. It's fine. I understand that you're angry, but maybe you can distribute that anger into different avenues. And the guy's like, oh, thanks for talking to me about that, man. That's really nice of you.
So no combat, just talking. This is like Disco Elysium.
Yeah, but
that's basically what you're saying.
But like Disco Elysium's like really aggressively, like, it's like grim and dirty. This is just like unicorns and lollipops and like, like shaved armpits and stuff. It's nice. It's lovely.
I've just been having a Google. It looks gorgeous. Like, it looks really nice.
It's so like... It's just the game you want your kid to be playing, but or at least looking at, because she's understanding that like not all confrontations are violent and stuff. Because like Mario, he's like stomping on people's heads, Sonic's like spinning through stuff, blowing stuff up. It's like Rainbow Billy's just chill, man. You're like, it's whatever. It's just you can be my friend. Come on my ship and I'll give you a banana. It's great.
Sounds a bit.
Is this not like based off like a kid's show or something? It looks. I've googled it and watched the trailer. The character looks like something straight out of a kid's show. Does this have any other history other than this game being made?
I don't know. It's like £5 on the Xbox store, so that's all I know. It looks like something that SpongeBob would kind of have on his TV, but as a joke. You know what I mean? He's like, oh, you're watching Rainbow Billy, and then he just turns it off. It looks something like a parody thing. It looks kind of daft and fun and stupid, but no, it's really nice.
It sounds really good. Yeah.
I do recommend it if you want something slightly familiar but different at the same time. It wants to be a Zelda game, it wants to be Paper Mario, but also it's just a nice game about having a chat with some bad guys.
Cool.
But we put that on pause to play Kirby and the Forgotten Land, and we've just finished it yesterday.
Oh, okay.
And my God, playing that game with a 5-year-old girl as a Waddle Dee is probably the best fun I've ever had on a Switch with her, because like me as Kirby, like she tried playing as Kirby, but she found it frustrating for reasons where when you give the camera control and the ability to pace the game.
Yeah.
She found it quite frustrating.
Yeah.
But
I'm having the same thing with Isaac, but he insists on being Kirby. I'm not going to argue with him. I'm like, no, let me be the better character. But also, they're unfortunately,
it's a lot of responsibility.
It's a lot to take in. Like, because obviously he's still getting his head around like the different face buttons and like the amount of times where I'll be like, right, okay, so go up and like, you know, like inhale that ability or that, you know, thing, and he'll just walk over and then like jump 3 times. I'm like, no, Isaac, it's the B, not A.
Yeah.
But obviously you have to say at and B because you get told off by school otherwise.
Yes, I have to do it. After David's mention of me forcing ND not to be Kirby, we tried in a week, but yeah, she was also not a fan. I mean, she hasn't played that many games really, but she also wasn't a huge fan of having to control the camera, and she liked being the little Waddle Dee with a spear.
Yeah. Well, the good thing about the Waddle Dee is that like they respawn, right? So if you lose the health of the Waddle Dee, it gets 5 seconds later, it's back in the game. When you lose a Kirby, you go back to the checkpoint, and kids don't like playing the same nonsense again and again. From what I could tell, oh, Daddy, you do it. It's like, well, I'll just be Kirby anyway, and that'll be fine. And whenever he goes into mouthful mode, like my little one loves like the idea that the Waddle Dee sits on top of the thing, or you know, or interacts with. So I get to sit on top of the car now, Daddy, and she gets to just chill out for a second. It's the co-op mode's fantastic. It really is kind of above and beyond kind of even like Cappy and Odyssey. Like they've really starting to nail what it means to be a cooperative partner in these kind of games, and I really appreciate that because you know, she's really like starting to flourish with video games now, whereas before it's kind of off and on. It was mainly like my kind of my dictation, and then I just let it go for a bit because she wasn't interested. And then she goes, "Oh, how about we get that Kirby game?" And I was like, "Hello." And she's starting to pick up an interest. And then she was on a trampoline in our garden the other day, and she was pretending to suck up the trampoline in mouthful mode. So I was like, "Okay, it's working." She's becoming a Nintendo fan.
Yeah, Isaac's got very obsessed with Kirby. It's nice because
so good.
Because he's Pokemon's still the main thing he's obsessed with. Like he doesn't shut up about Pokemon, but he's now like Kirby's now like a close second. I'm just glad there's like more than one game he wants to talk about and wants to play and stuff. So I think so. We're on World 4, the snowy one.
Yeah,
which very nice. I know, like Dave was saying the other week about how much it improves at World 3, and yeah, he was absolutely right. Like World 3 is amazing. Like just gets so much more intricate the way things are hidden and some of the things you have to do or just notice, you know, things that look slightly out of place, and it's like, oh, is that a secret? Yes, it is. Cool. And really enjoying it. The fucking treasure roads as well, man. They do get hard, don't they?
They do. Put them on hold.
Yeah,
they do get hard. So we've been hammering this over Easter, and we were playing another game, which we'll talk about in a minute. But yeah, Kirby is the one we played most of over the Easter break. So I had last week off, and so we've finished the main game. I've gone and I finished the post game content. Now I've done the challenge levels. I've got all the weapons, all the upgrades, and now I'm going basically towards 100%, and I'm at 93% now. There's still loads to do. Like basically right now, what I'm doing is I'm going through each of the levels and doing the missions I didn't finish previously. I've got to do some of the Colosseum stuff in Waddle Dee Town, and then I've got like 150 odd models to collect. I think that's then everything. But the more I play this game, the more I love it. When I first played this, you know, I thought, okay, it was not much challenge, but it's pleasant enough and it's enjoyable. You know, I've never played a Kirby game previously, don't have any affiliation with the guy. But you know, it was pleasant. I probably would have given it like a 7 at that point. The more I played it, you know, particularly as Sean mentioned, as David mentioned, and James mentioned after World 2, like, okay, creativity's gone up a notch now. There is definitely a challenge where you want it, and I'll probably have given it maybe an 8 at that point. And honestly, it's probably like a 9 if I was going to review it now. I just love it so much. Like, but the music is absolutely incredible. Like there are so many tracks in this game that I absolutely love that they've been in my head all week. They're probably not going to leave my head until maybe a week or two after I stop playing the game. The music is so atmospheric, and there's like a level or a set of levels towards the end of the game where you're kind of in like a factory or something like that. And I swear some of the musical themes are very Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, like, absolutely.
Yeah, do you think so? It's like the first part of Final Fantasy VII. It's like, I mean, Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just because I'm remembering it. But that's what it evokes straight away. I'm like, there's like a battle you do against one of the enemies, and I was like, okay, this feels like Final Fantasy VII battle music.
Definitely, it was straight out of the Mako reactor, wasn't it, or the Mako reactor? Like
massively.
Because the way the camera pans and it looks at the front facing of this industrial kind of warehouse thing, I was like, are they going for fun? No, they're not going for Final Fantasy. But you saying that, I'm like, yes.
Yeah, I definitely got Final Fantasy VII vibes.
Big
so
time.
I thought that was fantastic. But no, just generally, music is so catchy. It's absolutely brilliant. But no, and the challenge is absolutely there. I mean, so there's always challenge levels, and you can. And at first, I was like, okay, I'm going to finish everyone and do it within target time. But then I haven't done that. I've just basically gone through to finish them. But some of them you have to basically, well, I found I really had to work on them. I think the challenge levels are absolutely brilliant, and just going through and trying to do all the missions. I think the post game stuff is really fantastic. What they do, I won't say much, but I think it's really clever what they do. The post game stuff is great. I mean, it's not as hard as other kind of Nintendo games I've played. I don't think it really goes for that, but it's like a really nice level of challenge, and I've been going through levels constantly to try and mop up missions I didn't do previously. One thing, it's not a perfect game by any stretch of the imagination. One of the things that does annoy me probably the most, and maybe it's because I'm trying to go through and 100% it, is when you maybe miss something from a certain part of the level, you can't go back.
Yeah.
You basically have to restart the level again.
Yeah.
Or if you're trying to do a mission where it's like, kill this enemy without taking any damage. You might have made your way through the entire level to quite near the end of the level, and you see an enemy, and for whatever reason, maybe I make a mistake, or they just pull off a move, and like, okay, great, you've hit me, restart, go back out. There's also no restart, so you basically have to quit the level, you go back to the main menu, and then you go back to the level, start it, go through the entire level again. Oh no, fucking hell, the enemy's hit me again. I've had to do that an awful lot. Or if, say, I need to get something, and and basically something happens whereby I have to restart a level or just exit, come back. It's kind of it's really clumsy at that point.
You just need to just calm down, man. Just finish the level and then try it again with the knowledge. It's fine if you fail. It's fine to fail. You're allowed to fail.
I've been failing a lot. There's one particular mission where it's like, kill this enemy, or to kill his two enemies at the same time without being hit, and it's right at the end of one levels. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll do it again, shall I? I guess I'll. So. That stuff is a bit annoying.
It's a weird
you
one.
Quit halfway through the level with Elodie next year, and she's just like, "Dad, can we just get to the next bit?" And you're like, "No, I've got to do this challenge."
Dad, don't
She's
make
like,
it matters.
This is when I'm on. This is when I'm on my own doing this. But
it's weird. Like, it's an interesting problem because, as you say, like, all right, this is something that's come about because you're trying to, 100% it, and like, okay, statistically, you're probably an outlier in trying to do that, but also like that stuff is there for you to do. It's put there, on purpose for people, like you who want to do that. So yeah, to sort of find that it's actually a bit of a shitty experience due to, like, say, sort of lack of checkpointing or whatever is a bit poor.
Yeah, and I don't expect to be able to start and not select where to go in the level, then enter it. Why isn't there a retry? Why do I have to exit? Go out and I don't know.
Yeah.
No, it's immensely fun.
I'm trying to be like Mr. Cool and calm over here, but like the levels are kind of short enough for you to just peg it through to the bit where you need to. Like the levels aren't that long anyway. The length comes from the discovery around the corners, right?
Yeah.
But if you were to bomb straight to the end, it'd only take you a couple minutes. So I hear what you're saying.
That is true, I guess.
I have those frustrations with like Yoshi games and stuff like that, but I think if we just calm down a bit, it'd be fine.
No, Darren.
No, come on. This is the way forward.
I was going to say, this is a Sea of Thieves veteran talking here, isn't it? Like, it's all right if you just fucking lose an entire night's progress, and it's just...
Mate, I'm getting annoyed at it now. I hate that game.
But yeah, I'm so immensely impressed with it. It's way better than I thought it would be. It keeps getting better. I never intended to 100% it, and I haven't yet still, so maybe I won't. But I've never intended to play this much. I mean, at the moment I kind of finished the game, I was like, well, I'm obviously going to do the post-game stuff. The moment I did that, I'm like, well, I'm obviously going to keep playing this. And there's so much to do. But no, this household and me absolutely love Kirby, and excited to see what they do next. Because, yeah, again, haven't played the previous one, but I will undoubtedly be buying the next one after enjoying this one as much as I have.
Cool. It might be worth would it? I was going to say, is it worth sort of investigating some of the older ones? Perhaps not. It's interesting that it has that book in Kirby's house where it's like, here's some of the other games that you could buy.
Yeah,
that's a weird little addition, isn't it? Because it's not like
there's lots of little weird additions. I like the fact that you can there's a place in town where you can listen to all the tracks, which is quite nice.
Yeah,
you have like little pictures in your house. I quite like
the pictures in the house thing is very cool.
I love fireplace.
I love the mini games in town. There's loads you can unlock, and
because
are really good fun.
Obviously, the other week you talked about the Waldy town, and I was like, oh, that does actually sound quite cool. And then so like played a bit more, unlocked the town. And was kind of like, oh, is this it? Like, initially, like, oh, there's a theatre, there's a, Kirby's house, and then there's like a few other buildings that will appear if you, save a certain number of Waddle Dees, and then I got those, and again, I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. But it turns out it gets way bigger, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's like 5 or 6 mini games and fishing, and there's tilt-based puzzles where you have to roll a ball or a little Kirby around. I thought they're really good fun. There's a restaurant game where you got to serve the meals as quick as possible. I was really struggling on the highest difficulty. I think I may have said last week, hey, you get like a figurine if you beat the cafe or restaurant on the hardest difficulty, and I just couldn't do it. But I mean, Elodie properly showed me up, or maybe just like, no, Daddy, just say you play it. I'm like, wow, okay, this is the first time it's probably happened. But so when it goes like lunchtime rush, and you have loads of people saying, here's what I want. I didn't realize that because I was so like kind of get the game done or get the level done. I didn't realize that actually, as Elodie pointed out, if you look at the next person in line, they like the outline of what they want starts to appear. Because when she was playing, I'm like, how you're literally doing it in like a second. How do you know that they're going to choose the burger or the tomato? She's like, oh no, if you look at their head, it kind of like it slowly builds up in the background. I'm like, oh my god, I can't. That's amazing. And we got it done in co-op. So yeah,
nice.
Amazed. Well, what a game! What a game!
It is very good. I'm really enjoying it. Josh.
Hello.
Do you want to do yours?
Yeah. So, I've been travelling a lot recently. So, with my trusty Switch, I've been playing a lot of Spelunky 2.
Oh, yeah.
This game kind of got overshadowed the year it came out by Hades. Because understandably, Hades was amazing. And I've been trying to get back into it because I love the first Spelunky. I absolutely adore it. And I think I'm just slowly coming to terms with the fact that Spelunky 2 just isn't the masterpiece that the first game is.
Really?
I just don't think the difficulty and the enemy types and just certain set pieces that can be generated by the game's algorithm is as well balanced and satisfying to overcome and learn as the first game is. Like the really, and to the devs' credit, like this has been patched and improved since release. But one of the more notorious elements is that there's an enemy in the first world called the Mole, which digs through the environment and runs at you full speed when it comes out of the ground. And it's just, it's so hard to account for. It's so easy to forget that they're there. And there's not that feeling of learning that encounter, mastering it. Like, okay, the mole's here, this is what I've got to do. Because they're just so chaotic. They're just agents of chaos digging through the earth and just occasionally going, oh, you've just been hit by a bat, I'm going to come up behind you and hit you too. Ha 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 ha. And it's just too intense for World 1, right? Like, World 1 still needs to be a stiff challenge, but I need dumb enemies, like simple traps that kind of slowly get me in the mind space of Spelunky and the difficulty level of Spelunky. And if like the moles showed up like in World 5 or 4, fair enough. Like that's the point where you start introducing the agents of chaos, but like it just doesn't make sense, their placement there. And then the worlds just get...
Sorry, go on.
Yeah. No, you go.
I was just going to say, because that's always... I mean, I've never been particularly good at Spelunky, but I remember, like, the encouraging thing in the early stages is, like, it's really hard, but everything about it is consistent and predictable.
Yeah.
So as you say, to have something chaotic thrown in sort of betrays that a bit.
Yeah, and then later levels escalate from there. Like, they've introduced this... on paper sounds really cool fluid dynamic system. So there's like lava where if you blow up certain areas of the world, like it properly flows out of those crevices and stuff like that, which is cool. But again, it's too hard. It's not consistent. It's too hard to predict. And like I don't know, like there's something about how dumb the AI, even though like you can be killed in one hit, like you can be killed in a couple of hits from all these really deadly enemies. There's something about how consistent, how rigid their patterns are, how there's no room that, like, every time I died in Spelunky 1, I was like, I could, if I had just slowed down, if I had just used the bomb, if I had just used the rope and taken my time, I could have overcome that. There are just occasions where I'm dead and I'm like, in this game, I die and I'm just like, I don't know what happened there. Like, I've played this game for well over 15 hours now and I still don't get it. So I think I'm going to have to retire Spelunky 2, unfortunately. There's good stuff in there. I don't want to rag on it completely. Like, I think the soundtrack for Spelunky 2 is amazing. I really, really love the art direction. I think the look of the characters and the world is an improvement over the first one. It's just not as tight, which is unfortunate. The other game I've been playing is it's called Inscryption Kaycee's Mod. It's not actually a mod.
Okay.
It's an update to Inscryption from the original developers that basically turns the Leshy section of the game, so basically Act 1 of the game, into a proper endless roguelike deck builder.
Okay.
And it's really, really great. It's genuinely really, really fun. If you've completed Inscryption, I highly recommend it. There's obviously some stuff that they've had to tone down. It's purely a gameplay experience rather than a narrative one. But obviously they can't include stuff like the death cards and all that jazz. But they've added some new stuff in there to compensate for that. So there's this cool mechanic. There's a character called Goobert, which you encounter in the main story for Inscryption. But in this, he shows up as a character who can make copies of your cards by painting them. But he's not a very good painter. So he makes imperfect copies of your cards. So it's like, great, I'm going to give you this card because I really like the attack value on this, but then he'll get the attack value wrong. So it's like the whole reason I got you to copy this card, you've just messed it up. But it's fun. Like I like that system of like there's always a chance that he's going to get it wrong in a way that undermines the reason why you want the card copied, or it can just be like a minor right, it's got one less health, that's no big deal, fine, I'll deal with it. And there's tons of stuff like that. There's more cards as well, there's more beasts to choose from. It's just really clever, and I'm glad that they given how successful Inscryption was, I'm glad that they poured some of that resource into making something that extends the life of that game.
Yeah.
So,
is this a paid DLC, or does it come as part of the game?
No, it's free. Yeah, you can just, if you've got it on PC, it's because it was in beta, so you'd have to put it in, type out the password and do the beta version of it on Steam. But now it's officially out. So if you have Inscryption on Steam, you can just load up Kaycee's mod, easy peasy.
Oh, cool. Because I know
I do. I should have gone back. I should have basically save scummed that to get through the game, which I was desperate to get through because I wanted to experience all the amazing story revelations that people were talking about, or not talking about, but certainly hinting at. But I just got to like the third boss in the cabin, and I tried a couple of times and died and didn't go back to it. Obviously, it's a busy time of year anyway with other games out. But I wish I just. Well, I guess I can. I still can. Like save scum it to actually get through and experience it myself.
Yeah, because we both hit the same point, didn't we, Matt? Where it was like we'd exhausted all the story stuff in Act 1, and then it was like, right, now just get to the end and beat the boss. And suddenly I was just like again, I got to the end, but then failed a couple of times. And I was just like, but if I wanted to just play a roguelike deck builder, I would be playing Monster Train or Slay the Spire. Yeah. And it was, just sort of lost momentum with it, which I know is my problem, and I should fix that because I know the narrative stuff really, ramps up. Excuse me. But this sounds interesting. I mean, I would still... if I was to go back, I would still want to do the story stuff first. But yeah, it's very cool that they've obviously taken those that framework and those assets and just been like, here's like the like more typical deck builder version of that. It's quite cool.
And I don't know if you're after like very, very robust, in-depth deck building roguelike mechanics, I think you are probably better served by Monster Train. But this game comes with like that atmosphere, that art direction, that sound design, which as much as I genuinely, Monster Train is a phenomenal game. I think it looks ugly as sin though.
It kind of does.
So if you're kind of like me and really, really shallow and want all their games, regardless of how deep they are, to look pretty, then here you go. Here's like a pretty, slightly shallower version of Monster Train.
Cool.
And lastly, I know you've been playing this as well, Sean, but Elden Ring. I am 90 hours into it. I am level 116 currently. I am absolutely head over heels in love with this game. And there's like criticisms I had about the game earlier on, which I no longer would support. So for example, ages ago, Sean, you, me, and Chris were talking about Elden Ring, and I said, the story is not as robust or as interesting as Dark Souls, and it doesn't tie together in the same way. I fully retract that statement based on stuff that I've seen later on. The thing is, it's not that those mini bosses that you fought in all of those caves and out in the open world are like, they're not Gwyn, they're not Seath the Scaleless or any of that, right? But Elden Ring is much more interested in factions and culture and the dynamics therein than Dark Souls is. Dark Souls is very interested in individuals, like individual characters and how they impact the world. Whereas this game cares about group dynamics. And there's like there's revelations and little insights and the way Souls games do it, like where certain enemies show up and the locations they're associated with, it builds a sense of who that faction is and what that culture is and what their value system is and what they care about, which retroactively makes some of those mini bosses more meaningful than they felt at the time. Like the Tree Sentinel is like a big example of that. Like, oh, he's there for a reason, and I now know what the reason is. And they play with it. This is a mild spoiler. In the grand scheme of the stuff that I know, this is not a big deal, so you're just going to have to trust me. There's a point in the game where you're going up a mountain, and I won't name the factions, but like two factions are meeting each other on this hill, and they're meeting each other peacefully. They're not fighting each other. And then you go and fight one of the enemies on one side, just because you're playing Elden Ring and you want to pick a fight. And you realize that those enemies are using the weapons and items that are most commonly associated with the other faction that they're meeting.
Right.
And you go, shit, they're working together. They're trading. They're working together. And then it suddenly triggered something in my head. So all those times that this faction has been fighting other factions in Limsgrave, has that been orchestrated by this other faction? Are they manipulating this faction to distract everyone else in exchange for these weapons and these items? And it's just stuff like that. Like, that's the good stuff. That's the Vati Vidya content that I crave from Software. That's been really good to see, especially in the kind of second half of the game. There are some amazing locations. Like, Sean, you've already been to two of them, but I just completed the Volcano Manor recently, and it's very much like a does what it says on the tin location. I don't know what I expected when I walked into the Volcano Manor, but lots of lava, I guess. And it's funny because there's elements of this game that reminds me a lot of Dark Souls 2 more than any other game that From Software have made, but it feels like they were given the chance to like flesh those ideas out and do them properly, because the Volcano Manor feels a lot like the Iron Keep.
I was going to say
in Dark Souls 2. But the Iron Keep stuff. I think Dark Souls, just for the record, I think Dark Souls 2 gets way too much hate than it deserves. Like, it's a solid game, but like one of the criticisms that I think justifiably gets leveled at it is some of its environments lack that feeling of being organic. Like, they feel like playgrounds just made for the player to
just sort of
to toy
bolted
with.
together via massive lifts and stuff, so you kind of like just kind of forget about where you were relative to where you are now. It's they're not really related.
It doesn't matter. And the Iron Keep suffers from that especially. It just feels like a weird jungle gym over boiling hot lava. Whereas there was some real attention paid in the Volcano Manor to root it. Obviously, it's an illusion, but like root it in some kind of like functionality. Why is this place this way? Like, what was it used for? What was the function of all these levers and bridges and stuff like that? Which was really great to see. I found a really cool sword called the Sword of Night and Flame, and it is the best sword.
It does.
It is so good. So every other, like most swords, it's either like scaling off of strength or scaling off of dex. So it's either going to be light and quick or heavy and what have you, like slow. This scales off of faith and intelligence.
Okay.
And when you swing it around normally, it just does a lot of damage, but it just functions like a normal straight sword. But if you hold down the left trigger for your skills, you go into this ready stance. And if you press the right bumper, you shoot a laser beam out of your sword.
Oh, you saved
and
it.
Sounds good.
And
keep going.
If you press the right trigger, you shoot a wave of flames around you, doing like massive damage to whole crowds of enemies. And it solved the magic problem for me in Souls games, because so often, like, the spells are great, but it's so awkward to equip your staff,
Yeah.
then cycle through all the spells to the exact spell that you want. It's so much better to just have this sword, hold down a button, and have access to the two spells that, like, two incredibly powerful spells at any moment, and I could just do them on the fly, like in the middle of a boss fight or with a group of enemies. It feels so good.
It took me a while to twig that, like, for all the, the Ashes of War and stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, these are like cool attacks for my sword, and then sort of realizing later on, like, oh no, some of these are essentially magic spells, and they can just be built into my sword if I so choose. I say it's a much more elegant way of doing things. It was, and it's probably not as powerful as being like a full, staff user.
Probably,
but still, it's much more.
I'm not.
Useful in a lot of ways.
I'm just not willing to. It just being a full-on mage just feels really fiddly. I summoned someone recently who destroyed a boss instantly with one spell, and I'm like, Jesus, okay, yes, I see why you would go all the way on intelligence, but for someone who like me who just wants to swing a sword and then occasionally do something cool, this weapon is perfect.
Where did you get that weapon? I assume it's beyond where I am.
Where can I find that cool
estate,
sword?
So directly above Hogwarts,
yes. Oh, the carrier
is an estate. Yes, the sword is in there.
Fuck, because that's the one place I really don't want to go at the moment because the spider hand things fuck me up.
Yeah.
Oh well. Yeah. It's gonna have to be a brave boy.
You're just gonna have to do it.
So I've made it. So I've done Rare Lucaria, and I'm now in the capital city. Which fucking hell. Even just the environment around it.
Yeah.
Like, the game had been, beautiful up to that point with loads of incredible locations and stuff. But yeah, reaching the Altus Plateau, isn't it? Just this game's been just sort of fucking around for the last 40 hours. This is this is unbelievable.
How great is it to play a game that actually saves its best moments and vistas until later on? Like, it's
because I know in game development, and I'm not saying this is wrong, but obviously there's always that temptation to front load the best stuff because statistically most players aren't going to get that far, and which you would think would be especially true of Souls games, because they obviously there's a whole discussion around difficulty and stuff. There's been interesting stuff, like the last week I think there was an article on Eurogamer basically saying it's unbalanced. And because you have the freedom to find your own balance within it, and that's why it's interesting. But broadly speaking, you wouldn't be wrong for assuming that there's going to be a lot of people that will bounce off this to an extent. So to just be able to, as you say, 40 hours in, and I'm just like, fuck, this is unbelievable. It's really good.
It's the arc. So have you been in the capital itself?
I mean, I've run through a bit of it.
Okay.
I've not really sort of soaked it up yet. I've just sort of sprinted through, did a couple of the sites of grace, and then thought I'm not supposed to be here yet.
Yeah. But some of the architect, especially around the Erd Tree itself, some of the architecture for those buildings is unbelievably beautiful.
Yeah. It feels like, when you playing a game and it might look good, and then you see the concept art and you're like, I see what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
Whereas this just is I haven't seen any of the concept art, but it feels like it's as impressive as the best concept art I've seen in the past. You know what I mean? It just feels much closer to this, just completely, just the sheer scale and detail of everything. It's just unbelievable.
And it's really interesting to play a game that cares about the kind of macro detail of the world, because obviously Elden Ring on a technical level it's not going to compete with something like Horizon, but Horizon is very focused on the micro details, like how a character's face looks, blade of grass, that kind of thing. But the macro detail is maybe not as big of a focus, whereas with this, like, everything is sculpted in such a way where you crest a cliff or you go into a room that has an open window or something like that, and you look outwards and you go, oh my god, like, that just looks so beautiful. And the fact that the game doesn't look technically as impressive as some of its competition just does not matter in that moment.
It's that, the whole like when Breath of the Wild came out, and it was, everything. One of the things everyone was saying was like, oh, like, you fucking see a mountain in the distance, and you can go to it, and you can climb it, and you can, like, it's all there for you to explore. There's no sort of, oh well, that's outside of the bounds of the game, and never going to be able to actually go there. I feel like Elden Ring sort of pulls that off all over again in terms of like, even having played Breath of the Wild and open world games, having come as far as they have. You start Elden Ring and you see stuff in the distance. You see these towers and mountains, and just and again you just think, oh well, that'll be out of bounds. That won't actually be somewhere I can go. But it fucking is, all of it. As far as I can tell, it's all and the amount of things you see that's like, well, that's just like, that's like a little island, or that tower's like, there was a bridge to it but it's broken, so I probably can't go there. I probably can. There'll be a way. So it's really fucking good, isn't it?
And what's absolutely blowing my mind is, I'm 90 hours into the thing, and I WhatsApp message my friend Rob Middleton, who's further along than I am, and I said, I think I've got to the last area of the map, and then he said the name of a location that I've literally never heard of before. And I was like, oh, for God. Really? And then I said where I was, and he said, okay, you're nowhere near the end. I was like, oh my God, okay. This game is just impossibly big.
Yeah. What else? Sorry, this is probably what I've spent most of my time on again this week, so I'm just everything's still just sort of floating around. The boss in Shifra River, it's fucking unbelievable.
Oh.
I don't want to spoil it. I think it might be one of my favourite ever Souls bosses. And I beat it on the second go. It's not a hard one, really. But it's the first Souls boss where I was, like, gutted that I'd beaten it. Because I just wanted to... I was like, oh no, I would have been quite comfortable with sort of 5-10 attempts at this, because it was just beautiful. Like, just an incredible thing to witness. And then and I was like, oh, I've killed it now. That's that. A lot of feelings about that game.
I'm excited to go back to it once maybe Kirby's done, but I will be going back to that. It sounds amazing. Months later, people still got amazing stories about it, and it feels like, again, much like Breath of the Wild, where people are like, oh, I was worried about spoilers, but no, people were saying stuff about that game every single day, and it never felt like it spoiled it. It was just adventures other people had gone on and discoveries they had made, but you had made your fair share of your own discoveries. And I feel like this does exactly that as well. I've heard, so many people talk on podcasts or in articles and videos, and it hasn't spoiled anything, because I just heard so many, and I feel like I'll probably have many of my own.
Yeah, like it just
that I haven't heard about.
As you say,
and
just
that's the measure of a good game. I think.
Just as with Breath of the Wild, it's like, look, no, it's just that big that, like, you can listen to other people's stories, and there's still so much room for your own that it's not really a problem.
And Matt, if you struggle with the difficulty, just look up strategies for negating it, because there's so much advice online now. And there are, like, for every boss that is a massive headache, there is 100% a strategy that kind of negates the difficulty. So, like, recently Eurogamer just posted an article for the notorious Star Scourge Radahn that basically removes the second half of the fight. So
I need to look at that, because that's where I am now, and he's a fucking nightmare. Well, apparently not, but we'll see.
What I'm most fascinated about, and I haven't watched the videos, is people like finishing the game in under 9 minutes, which I think is the latest. Best time.
I hate those people. Like, what?
How? I mean, I guess I should watch a video to find out, but 9 minutes.
But the thing is, what they didn't just go, "Oh, I've completed it in 9 minutes." That's like hundreds of hours of figuring out the exact perfect way of playing it. And now they've completed it in that amount of time. That's just...
It's terrifying.
I do have a lot of respect for speedrunners, don't get me wrong, but with a game like this, it's just, oh my God, like, I hate you.
I've not looked into that because I'm worried it will, sort of spoil late game things, but I'm interested to see if it is stuff that is there on purpose or if it is like a genuine glitch or whatever that's being exploited.
I haven't watched any videos yet, but I'm also interested in going on and I'm watching that. Josh, you were saying earlier about you're traveling a lot, you have traveled a lot recently, and you played a lot of Switch. Are you tempted with like a Steam Deck to be able to play games like Elden Ring and Inscryption and Spelunky 2 and others on the go, or is that in your planning at all?
I'm kind of waiting to see what the long-term reaction to Steam Deck is.
I've seen a bit of I've seen a bit of like wait for the second or third one talk.
Yeah,
I don't know how fair that is, but
I just Valve can be a little bit inconsistent with the quality of their hardware. And I'm worried that there's going to be long-term issues with this that will come out a year later. So I'd rather wait. To be honest with you though, Matt, like it wouldn't be stuff like Elden Ring that I would want to play on it. Like I want to play those games on my big TV at home. Yeah. It's more of the smaller, like I have just tons and tons of small indie games on Steam that I've just never gotten round to. But I would 100% play them all if I had them on a portable device. So if I was going to get it, it'd be for those games.
Cool.
Yeah, I wasn't too. I did like reserve or get a pre-order in, and I started watching like Linus Tech Tips videos. I'm like, this does look like a fascinating piece of hardware, but it's probably not the right time for me at the moment. But
yeah. I'm still.
I kind of read it kind of related. I saw loads of people people in the media got to post their like previews or initial videos of Playdate today as well, didn't they? Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
All the videos going on, so I presume we'll be getting reviews of that pretty soon. But it's pretty cool to see them things out into people's hands now.
Yeah, I'd be intrigued to see how that goes down. Because I did want one, and I still do. But, we talked about this at the time, didn't we, Matt? Like, once we'd missed that first pre-order window, it's like, I'm going to miss out on the everyone gets the new games at the same time thing.
Yeah, that totally killed it for me.
Like, it shouldn't be that big a deal, but somehow, I don't know, it felt like that was a big part of the fun, really. But
massively, yeah.
Anyway. I've only got, I've got two more to talk about. One is shared with Matt, so I'll just tick off the other one first. So I finished Pokemon Legends Arceus.
Excellent.
Really enjoyed it, but the ending was just an absolute, I don't know, non-event, really. Like, it's just really strange because it's so self-contained, and I don't think it has like any multiplayer stuff or anything. So like you can't, you get to the end of the campaign and it's like, oh yeah, you got these two fucking mythical Pokemon, isn't that incredible? And I'm like, yeah, but what am I supposed to do with them now? Finish the story. Obviously, I could go on to catch them all if I wanted to. But you don't necessarily need like super tough Pokemon to do that.
Well, I got an impression that there's still, if you do decide to do the kind of the post-game stuff or post credits, there is some major battles that you will probably need these.
Okay, I should check with James really, because I know I don't think he enjoyed completing the Pokédex.
No, kind of soured the game.
Yeah,
for him.
So I'm probably gonna stop here, but I don't know. It's just weird, like the way the story ends. It's just like because there's this big portal in the sky that you fell out of, and landed in the past, and you know, that's like the whole focus of the story is, oh, there's this big fucking rift and we need to close it. And then like, and towards the end someone's like, oh, so you know what happens if we close it, like, you know, will you go back to where you came from? And you're just like, oh, I don't know. And then you close the portal and you're still in the past, and no one even acknowledges like, oh shit, so are you stuck here? Like, no, just no one cares. So that's all a bit odd. But yeah, I don't know. It's such a strange game because it really feels, you know, especially because of what we've now seen of, you know, the new mainline ones, what was it, Violet and Scarlet? Like, this really feels like a proof of concept. Like, this was like a bit of a side project, and they sort of went, actually, do you know what? This will probably sell. We should put it out. I don't know, that there is something weirdly half-baked about it, and yet it's the most fresh and interesting Pokemon's been in years. So, you know, hopefully this is a signifier of like where the main series is going. But yeah, sort of by the end, I was like the world feels tiny by the end. You start out and you're like, oh man, it's open world, it's absolutely huge. And then by the time you've got like all the Pokemon that you can ride around on, it's just like, oh no, it's actually really small. It's actually not that big at all.
It is pretty tiny.
Yeah. So yeah, like I'm really glad I played it. Like I did have a really good time with it. It's just, as I say, it's just curious by the end. You're just like, oh, this kind of feels, I don't know, like half finished in a way. But yeah.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't label those criticisms on it, but I do get what you mean about, you know, it feeling like this is a stepping stone to the next one and proof of concept. But you know, I really enjoyed it. But it for everything in like games of the year, I wouldn't have it anywhere near my list. It was great. I enjoyed it, but I kind of have no more emotion to it than that. Totally. Really, I mean, it's my first proper Pokemon game. Mm-hmm. I'll definitely play more if they were more in this style. Previous ones haven't really interested me. So yeah, it's done something in that regard, but no more than that, really.
The other one, it's a big one. Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. So how much of this have you played, Matt?
So we got this on the day it came out, which is like the Tuesday of the Easter holidays, and I thought this would be our kind of mainstay, but we played a bit, but mostly we've gone back to Kirby. So we're only kind of at the near the end of the first one, which is A New Hope.
Right. Yeah.
I started in like film order rather than episode order.
Well, it's curious because it lets you
haven't even quite finished.
Lets you do both, doesn't it? Like they're not all unlocked from the beginning, but yeah, you can start with episode 4 or 1, which I thought was interesting.
Oh, really? Okay, so I just assumed you could choose any of them, so I just went to that one. I wasn't actually where it was locked up.
Yeah, I think all of the others are locked. Or maybe is The Force Awakens available at the start as well, possibly. But yeah.
So haven't finished one. How much have you played?
So we've finished episode 1, and then Isaac wanted to play A New Hope, so we've gone on to that. And we are currently at Yavin 4. It's nice. I mean, obviously, we're talking about this game in light of the stuff that came out about the studio a couple of months back about problems with management not listening to the staff, and particularly stuff about the QA team being treated very poorly. And I do think you see some of that. Technically there's been some issues with it. I think there was a pretty swift patch on Xbox, which is what we're playing on. But yeah, like I've seen people saying, that there's some missions that are just basically bugged and like prevent your progress in some cases and stuff. But I mean, by and large, it's really impressive. It's really good. The sheer I don't know, that obviously Lego Star Wars has been a thing for a long time. The Lego Star Wars games in particular have been a thing for a very long time. This feels much more like a love letter to Star Wars as a whole. Whereas like the previous ones were like, it's this is a Lego reinterpretation of Star Wars. And like and there are jokes and stuff. Whereas this, like just from the intro,
But and that intro video is so good.
Like
it looks great. It really gets you pumped, and then it goes into like kind of the main menu screen where you see all the characters across all the Star Wars films all together. I'm like, come on, and that alone gets me super pumped just because it's a great intro and really you can instantly tell that this team loves Star Wars and loves kind of celebrating all the great and the weird and the funny and the every part of Star Wars. You can kind of tell it's encapsulated in that intro movie.
Yeah, 100%. And the sense of humor in it is fantastic because the Lego games have always had jokes in them. For me, they've not always landed, or they're just the occasional smirk or whatever. Whereas I'm finding this like genuinely pretty funny. There's bits. It's not even like proper laugh out loud gags. Just little things like you're in a some facility somewhere and you call a lift down, and the droid that's manning the lift is just wearing like a little hat. like he's a concierge at a hotel or something, and he's just like
yeah. There's a lot of kind of silly things in the background.
Yeah, like in the cuts.
Like silly references. I saw like a stormtrooper like hit their head on something, but it wasn't kind of from the same part of like, the movie. But you see that in the background, and okay. And there's lots of little references to other parts of Star Wars in certain scenes. They don't keep like the references to that kind of particular scene or part of the movie, or even that movie, which I think is really clever and really funny for
I do feel like playing it with Isaac, he's definitely struggling with it a bit. It's definitely a bit more complex than previous Lego games have been. Like you have to manage the camera yourself now, don't you? Like it's not like previous Lego games, generally speaking, the camera's sort of quite panned out and pretty much always looking at, like where you need it to. Whereas this feels much more like a traditional like third person game, doesn't it?
I haven't played the previous ones, but it definitely requires full kind of camera control, and Elodie is kind of still she was fine by the end and whatnot, but that's definitely a bit more a challenge. I mean, again, I haven't played the previous ones, but my God, I was overwhelmed when I first started playing this game. There's just so much to see and do, and like the upgrades and skill trees and. There's a lot to get your head around, to the point where we're like, look, we'll just keep playing and enjoying the game, and then we'll maybe come back to the upgrades and what skill points we need in which these disciplines in order to be able to do more or unlock more. I think it's really, I thought it was really overwhelming. I mean, so I assume previous games are just far less complex and more just about you going around and enjoying the game.
100%. Like the great thing about previous Lego games is that they always. It's like you can get to the end of the campaign with basically, the stick and like jump and attack, right? Maybe some other abilities, but then it's once you start going back through the levels in free mode where you can like switch character at will and stuff, and that's when you start digging into the puzzles and stuff, and that's when it starts getting complex. Whereas this is like, hey, there's a skill tree. And that's that's completely new, and I've looked at it once when the tutorial came up for it, and I've just not looked at it again since, and I probably should because I'm probably missing stuff. But that kind of felt a bit unnecessary. A lot of those menus, there's all like the different ships and stuff. I mean, they're just collectibles,
ships,
right?
Characters, skills.
So that's you're sort of looking at it like, oh my God, what is this? But I mean, I don't think they're essential to gameplay in any way. I think that's just a way of tracking like what you've unlocked and stuff, which is fine. But like that combined with the camera stuff, it's like, oh, this feels like it's sort of trying to age up with the audience, right? Because obviously, if you were a child when the first Lego Star Wars came out, like you're a grown adult by now. But I don't know. It's
no. I was thinking that. I was like, this does not feel like a child's first Lego Star Wars game. This totally feels like this is for the people that played those first ones, and now they're, as you said, like I'm much older.
Yeah, totally.
But so Elodie has seen like the first, certainly the original trilogy, of Star Wars films, and she thought they were fine. I mean, she didn't see much more, but this made us, although we didn't actually find time in the end, it's definitely made us want to re-watch them, so she understood more like the references and the jokes and whatnot. I mean, she was enjoying the game for the game itself and for like the funny situations they were in, not obviously in relation to the original films or how it fits in like the Star Wars kind of pantheon. So I was enjoying it on a much different level than her, but I think it's still fun enough just to go around blasting all the various enemies and seeing, the kind of the jokes. There's a lot of kind of physical comedy and kind of background comedy in these scenes that you don't even need to know the references, don't even need to know the films. They're still just like funny Lego people doing funny things in the games. So,
I mean, Isaac hasn't.
It's really, really enjoyable.
Yeah, like obviously Isaac hasn't seen. I think technically he's seen Force Awakens, but obviously he was like 2.5, 3 at the time, so he didn't really absorb any of it, I don't think. But yeah, like he's laughing at loads of this. Like you say, it's just loads of like just slapstick stuff that just works. It's universal. But also, like, I think one thing I was really impressed by was like, because like Star Wars films, they're not comedies by any means, but there are moments of levity in them. And the like, so obviously you're playing through the events of like A New Hope. And obviously the dialogue is different. It's mostly original dialogue, still following the same basic story, but there's added like gags and stuff. But like when there is a funny bit from the film, they haven't changed it. And it's like, yeah, fair enough. Like it's like, no, why would we rewrite this bit that was already funny? Like it's
the original's funny enough.
Yeah, and I just thought that was a very smart decision. I think, like, technically, it is, as I say, there are bugs, and like people have reported like it's been sort of crashing and stuff like completely. I've not experienced that, but like
I've had a bunch.
Really,
I've had a bunch. I had these like bits where we're in. We're in one of the space stations, and basically LED was kind of in space because the walls and floor had disappeared from like the, from where we were. I was trying to find like the control room. So yeah, we've had that, and then like also, basically what the character she was at the time, just running into walls. She couldn't change it. I had to like restart the game, and it was fine. So it has crashed a few times where we've had to basically restart the game. I'm playing on Switch. It's had a bunch of patches. I had a bunch of patches since launch, and saying last week. So hopefully it gets better. I will say overall, I know it's a Switch game, so I probably shouldn't have expected too much, but it doesn't look great.
Really,
it does enough, and it's fine, I guess, to play in co-op. And the reason I bought it on Switch is because I've got a Switch controller, I've got couple of pads, whereas I don't have multiple pads for my other consoles, so that's why I did that. But I saw a picture, someone posted a picture on Twitter of just like the Xbox version. I was like, oh my god, okay, so that's what this game looks like. That it looks really gorgeous on those consoles, whereas the anti-aliasing on Switch is really severe.
Well, because I was going to say, because I mean, playing this on the Series S, there is definitely a bit. It's got a bit of that, the Vaseline vision. It's a bit. I don't know. It definitely looks better than, in like, your brand new Xbox, you load up a 360 game and it's like, oh, actually, yeah, this was never running at 1080p back in the day. Like this is clearly like a 900p game or whatever, and you can really see it. Whereas this is, I think the interface and everything is like 1080p, 1440, whatever. But I think the game itself is rendering at a lower resolution, like the 3D stuff. But it's I don't know. It must be using the Series S's fancy smoothing tech, because it's not offensive at all. There's definitely a lack of clarity there, but I'm not like. There's no jaggies, do you know what I mean? It's not like, oh god, that looks really ugly. And and the frame rate's been really consistent, and it does look beautiful. Like it's really nice being able to go to locations from the Phantom Menace, right? Which I don't hate the film. Obviously, it's not one of the best, but it's nice to be able to just
we can clearly say that.
It's nice to be able to just appreciate some of the locations from it, like the city in Naboo and stuff. And it's just like, yeah, this was always beautiful. It was just in a not great film, whereas now I can just walk around at my leisure, and like going to like Coruscant as well, and the fact that so we're in the sort of between missions, just roaming around, just looking at stuff. And Isaac wanted, because obviously, the on screen, the HUD was guiding him towards. There's like a taxi where you can do like fast travel between different bits, and I was like, he kept sort of going to that, and he was like. And I can't remember. I was still looking at something. I was like, "Oh no, just give me a second. Like, let me just look at this, or let me do this." I was figuring out one of those little environmental puzzles where you get those glowing blue bricks. And then eventually, when I was like, "Right, okay, let's go," and he, so he opens up the menu again, and he goes to like a different part of Coruscant, and it didn't take me with him. We could both explore completely different bits of the city on the same screen. And I was just like,
does it do the dynamic splitty screen job like it used to?
It doesn't do the the thing they started doing with like the Lego Marvel stuff. It is just permanent split down the middle, unfortunately.
Full split screen.
But it's just really impressive how, because like as everyone knows now, like split screen stuff is more difficult than you would think with 3D games, because it essentially breaks loads of like tricks that developers use to keep the frame rate stable and stuff. So the fact that not only does it work really well, but actually there are bits of the game where you can go to different areas within the same location, and it's just absolutely fine with it, which I thought was really impressive.
Yeah, it is impressive. I mean, Elodie kind of got lost. She went like a speeder, and I'm like, "Hey, we're doing this mission." And she's like, "No, I'm off." I'm like, "Where even are you?"
Yeah.
I'm like, obviously there's like markers on screen to tell, to help each other find help one another. But she went off burning like through the streets. I'm like, I'm trying to. Can we? No, we're not going to focus on the mission, are we?
Yeah.
Okay.
As it's essentially like a remake of the original two trilogies of Lego games. Do you know if they've kind of basically just chopped the crap out of it? Because me and Leon played the complete Saga on the Xbox 360, which is the only Lego game that has online co-op. Even with this new one, I believe that it hasn't got online co-op.
No online.
I know you can do like you can control player two's pad online through like remote play or whatever they call it, but it's not the same. So we thought we'd give this one a go. Lego the complete Saga, and oh my god, the longer it went on, like these kind of like these segments just kept going on and on and on. I'm just like, if they're going to remake these, they need to just cut the crap out and just get straight to the point, really, because like it was like Arena 1, and then like there's like 6 of them, and it just kept going on, and it's just like, and the weird thing was that like it was the second game that the Traveller's Tales had made, and it was like, well, surely after your first 3 games, you'd have learnt some lessons. But they did it in a roundabout way. Like, they did it back to front. Like, the latter games that they developed were actually more tedious than the first 3. And it's just like, oh, God, come on. So I'm hoping, like, everything else about this new one looks fantastic. Like the new camera angle, obviously the new visuals, and just the whole way of presenting it in a new light for basically the same audience, I'm guessing. Because like you say, if you played it back in the day, you probably got a lot of interest in playing it again, because you're like, oh, I remember that when I was a kid, and now I'm not a kid, and there's a lot of interest there. But for me personally, like, I'd like to know if they've just basically just kind of just got to the point of actually just playing those games, because there's a lot of filler.
There's definitely been a couple of encounters that have gone on longer than I would like. Matt, I don't know if you've done the bit in A New Hope where you're trying to get the Millennium Falcon out of...
Yes. Yeah, and like the waves of enemies keep coming as you're trying to find the parts.
And then it's like, now there's some snipers, and you have to get the lift working and go up the lift and kill all them and then go back down.
Yeah, it didn't annoy me, but it definitely took longer than I would have anticipated for like a game of this type. But...
And they talk like humans do, right? But you can turn it off in the end.
That's right. Yeah,
so more like Lego humans.
Yeah, so it's all fully voiced, but you can just turn it to the sort of gibberish speech that we've seen in some other Lego games, which I thought was quite a cool choice. Like,
it looks good.
Yeah, I think some of the voice acting is really good, and others are kind of a bit all over the place. But no, I've quite enjoyed it with the voices. I think Elodie would probably get a bit on board if it was just Lego-lish.
And they're all perfectly serviceable impressions of the original actors. They're very clearly not the original actors, but I think that's fine. I mean, they're Lego, so it doesn't.
Yeah, considering how many actors they need to cover, you can't really expect perfection.
Yeah. So
it looks good.
So like I say, I'm only a couple of hours in. I think by next week. I know Dave's been playing a shitload of this, so I think we'll probably have a more full discussion about it then. But I'm really impressed with it so far. Right,
Nice. We'll end this now, but do you think if we went back to like a previous Lego game, would they aged well, or do you think this does enough to actually make them kind of feel
go on, Darren?
Like this?
As I've just played episodes 1 to 6 with Leon on the Xbox, I can pretty much tell you that don't go back to them. It's like, oh my god, it's just so like padded out with just nonsense. They could just got to the point straight away. Like, there was fun to be had. You know, it's not to say the whole thing was pointless and just like, excuse me, I'm going croaky today. But yeah, there was fun to be had across the 6 films, across the one game or 2 games in one compilation. But ultimately, man, like those games, like the signposting is awful. Like there's no kind of indication of where you should be going. Some doorways don't function as doorways, whereas another kind of gap in the wall is a doorway. And there was just so many moments where like, where do we actually go next? Because we're so used to modern ways of developing, you know, like I imagine Valve and their kind of Left 4 Dead-ish kind of, you know, the light source is the way forward kind of thing is gently persuaded our brains to be trained like that, and we haven't really realised it fully until you go back a decade and you're like, wow, they really did some like harsh cuts in the geometry here to make the levels join. Because like, where'd you go? Like, some of it made no sense, and we only found it by just fumbling around. So the camera wasn't working properly because it was kind of 2 players on one screen, but it only follow one person, and Leon would just spin off into the distance out of bounds, and you're like, oh my god, yeah, this game. You can probably understand why they didn't have any more games online after this, because the netcode when you're moving bricks around was a bit fluffy. Right. It was an interesting look back on games at the 360, but I wouldn't actually go back and play it for funsies.
I think if you were keen, Matt, to try another one, I think probably my favourite, and it does hold up because I've played it fairly recently with Isaac, is the Lego Marvel Superheroes. I never played the second one, but that's the one that. So A, it has the cool dynamic split screen thing, which is still really impressive. B, it supports FPS boost on the Xbox, and I think because I grabbed that, I think it was 1 and 2 were on sale for like £20 for both. And because I got it like it's a couple of months back. Isaac was having a friend over who's like obsessed with Marvel stuff, and I was like, I'll just get him this, and then just let them play that. Turned out his mate wasn't actually asked when he came round. And I was like, no, look, you can play as the Hulk. He's your favourite, and it's just like, nah, right.
Who's the Hulk? I don't care.
Oh yes,
I like Superman. That's me.
Hulk's rubbish.
That one totally holds up, and it's again still quite impressive. Like in terms of it being an open world, like because the Avengers ship, whatever it's called, is just in the sky, and you fly up to it. Like I'll switch to Iron Man and fly up and end up on the ship, and then you skydive back down into the city again. It's proper good.
I'm reliably informed by Nick Suiters that the Lego Jurassic Park one is a very good game indeed.
Okay, as
his little boy who's been playing it a lot.
Okay,
nice.
How were the Lego Harry Potter games? Because Elodie is obsessed with Harry Potter. One
of them, I can't remember which one, so you'll have to find out. I remember one of them, like everyone went absolutely nuts for, because I remember it may have just been the first Lego Harry Potter. I just remember it came at a time where everyone was like, all the actual Harry Potter games have completely missed the point, whereas this Lego Harry Potter game is, hey, just fuck around in Hogwarts, like just explore it and just enjoy being in the location rather than like, this is the story from the film or book, So it's
I reckon I might get that. Yeah, you can get the Harry Potter collection years 1 to 7. I don't know how many games that is or what, but for me like 12 quid on Xbox.
Picked a hell of a time to get into Harry Potter Lego games.
I know it's so weird because Elodie's obsessed. Her room is decorated head to toe. She has like Harry Potter scarves. We went to like a shop in York over Easter, which is like Harry Potter. She's obsessed. And we listen to the audiobooks in the car, and it's kind of it's sad because now I think about J.K. Rowling.
Yeah.
That's kind of.
I think it's as long as you're making sure she's taking the positive stuff away from it and not.
She doesn't know who wrote it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just pirate all of it, then it's fine. I really wish they'd make a Star Trek Lego game.
God.
God.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous they haven't. That feels like a franchise that would be Right.
And again, it's like
there's-
Star Trek games in general, not a great selection, to be honest. Although that new one sounds really promising.
Yeah, because it's ex-Telltale devs, isn't it? And honestly, the Telltale format is perfect for Star Trek because it's it's never been the action-heavy, adventure story that Star Wars is, right? So having it be driven by choice, having it be driven by dialogue, that is more in keeping with the Star Trek kind of ethos. So yeah, that could be exciting.
Have you seen? I read a preview on, I'm going to say PC Gamer. Might not be correct.
Okay.
Which was very much like this. Yeah, it's very Star Trek Next Generation. It's all just interesting choices and just sort of sort of interesting sort of cultural clashes and tough decisions, and I was like, it's just that's everything I want basically.
I just want Patrick Stewart to give me a monologue about ethics. That's all I want. Like that's all I need.
I'm more of a Lego Red Dwarf man myself, but
that'd work.
Yeah,
be up for that.
Holly in Lego form, it kind of writes itself, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And Crichton, he's almost a Lego man. Yeah,
he's basically already there.
How about Lego X-Files?
Lego X-Files would be good.
That would work. That would
be great.
Right, should we move on to questions?
Yeah,
Is that a question?
I'll go
Cool.
for these. Yeah, so if you want to leave us a question, go to tcgs.co/dear. TCGS, we're going to start with Trees Smurf. Do you have any weird gaming tics that are incredibly pointless and just get in the way? For example, when I score in Rocket League, I almost always throw the controller up in the air and catch
That's risky
it again.
business, man. That's like 70 quid up in the air every time.
I was going to say, I don't think I could risk that. I'd be too scared.
Playing with fire right there.
I mean, I suppose because Isaac is so into Pokemon now, and he watches the show all the time and stuff. I say the show. The show is plural because there's like fucking 5 different series now. We when we were playing Arceus together, we'd so as I'm doing the the battle commands on the screen, we'd shout them out loud and gesture and stuff like Ash does in the show. That was incredibly funny. Really enjoyed doing that. But confers no benefit whatsoever. It's just a funny thing to do if you've got a 4-year-old child.
I mean, there was a reason why I was quiet during the Elden Ring chat. It's because I can't handle that kind of game anymore. Well, for now anyway, it's fine. I might get to one point. But when I used to play...
Absolutely. I was the same. If I hadn't been gifted a copy of Elden Ring, I'd probably be going no, I play Tunic instead. It's better.
But my weird gaming tick from games, especially Sekiro, is that I'd get so frustrated that I just punch my leg over and over again, just my left leg.
Ooh.
I was like, maybe I should stop playing these games. So
fair enough.
Just your left leg, so you didn't even distribute
No,
the punches.
my left arm's not as good, so if I wanted to proper punch my leg, I had to go with the right arm on the left leg for proper maximum reach. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't punch my right leg on the right arm because that's just too close. You've got to go.
Yeah, it'd be stupid otherwise, wouldn't it?
My legs are wide apart as well because I'm a man. Do you know what I mean? I'm a proper
obviously.
dude. Do you know what I mean? So I'm going to proper wallop. I thought, I don't need this. Yeah, so in terms of positive gaming tics, I don't know. I just fist pump the air. Wee. That's a good one, isn't it?
Anyone else?
Yeah, I mean, I would probably clap, but now I do a lot of clapping anyway.
I've still not
I
witnessed
don't
this,
like
and
a random
I'm
applause.
excited about it.
Just one big pop of a clap from a clap. Just one big, meaty clap. Anyway, anything you, Joshua?
Meaty clap.
No, I cannot.
I mean, we just found the episode title.
Yeah, thank you. I can only think of negative ones. For example, I get really the hand spiders that Sean alluded to. They really massively frustrate me because they're so aggressive. And sometimes, I'm going to sound like a parody of myself. Sometimes when I get really angry at a game, I get hyper articulate about why. No one's in the room. No one else is in the room. It's just me. But I'm I've got no room to breathe. There's no room to breathe with this enemy. And just start criticizing the design decisions.
Does anyone else do the twist of the controller when they're frustrated? It's almost like it's a Negcon from the PS1 or the
oh god, yeah.
You twist the controller. You're like, I'm going to break this in a minute. I better stop.
Yeah.
Maybe we're just
done that.
angry.
I haven't
nerds in
twisted one to
disguise.
bits yet.
Yeah. Not much of a disguise, though, is it?
I mean, the Switch is pretty thin. You can, I don't bend it, but you can.
Oh, you could, yeah,
you
100%.
want it,
You
don't you?
could
You want to
snap a Joy-Con off.
You want to snap that in two sometimes.
Talk dirty to me.
Yeah.
Tyson Fury, maybe the boxer, who knows? Who would win in a boxing match between the hardest member of TCGS and the hardest member of Kane and Rince?
But before we dive into this, we need to establish something, because there's no point having this conversation unless this is established. Does John Denton still count as a member of TCGS?
I don't know at this point, does he?
I mean, he gets referenced every week by Dave.
It would feel like a cheat to wheel him out just for this.
Yeah, because let's be honest, a frank and abrasive personality isn't going to win against actually trained to beat people up.
Bit harsh on James Farley, but I understand.
So
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think for the sake of
if John Denton does count, there's no.
I was going to say for the
John
sake
Denton
of an interesting
wins.
discussion, I think we should say John's out.
Yeah. So, right, David. I'm sorry. Is David actually the hardest member of TCGS, or is he just peacocking?
I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I feel like when Dave, because as you get to know Dave, it's like he supports Millwall, but he is actually just quite a nice nerd. But then but then he talks about here's when I was tortured at Scouts when I was a child and I appear to not bear any trauma from that. And you're like, fuck, man.
It's a classic origin story. So
he just, I don't know, sometimes
what's he really like is what I'm worried
wheels stuff like that out, and I'm like, I'd find that really upsetting, but it doesn't appear to bother you. So maybe it is really tough. I don't know. Or it's just in denial.
It doesn't matter, because Jay Taylor's just the answer. I'm sorry.
Is he?
That guy is just hilarious.
Well,
come on, when I wind him up on the Slack channel and you can feel the heat coming off your screen, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to take the piss out of him.
No, I think with these conversations, people are too quick to pick the quick temper, right? The person who angers the quickest is like, oh yeah, they're tough, but that's not necessarily a indication of hardness and toughness. Brian, who is the loveliest person you'll ever meet, kind, empathetic, etc., also works in a prison, so maybe he's quite tough, so I don't know. I mean, Jay would definitely be the funniest answer to this, but
let's get it out.
I don't know. Leah
I just want to do it now.
Saying.
I want to do, like when you had Gervais fighting Anthea Turner's ex-husband or whoever it was, Grant Boat, that's the one, yeah, of course. Yeah, that's what I want if I could, let's just do it. Let's just have him. I mean, the trouble is I don't want to kill anyone. That's my worry.
Yeah, Matt's very frightened that he'll kill someone with a single punch. It does happen. It does happen.
It does happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there'll be the one time I throw a punch,
The truth is, you should avoid violence whenever you can, and you shouldn't encourage it.
I don't know. It's worked out for me a few times.
Yeah, but if you have to, but what if it's entertaining?
I mean, boxers famously suffer from long-term debilitating illnesses post their career. So as long as you're willing to stomach that, then fine.
I picked Isaac up from the childminder today, and I was like, "Oh, has he been good?" And she was like, "He was hitting a bit this morning. One of the other kids was winding him up."
He's already in training. Well, that's good. Okay.
And I was like, "Oh, what was he? What was he doing, Isaac?" And he's like, "Oh, he's calling me names." And I was like, "Oh, all right, but that's not, it's not a good enough reason to hit someone." And with the childminder still stood there, I said, there's very few good reasons to hit people, Isaac. And the childminder goes, "Yeah, there's no good reasons to hit someone." I had to stop myself looking up her and being like, "Well, come on."
I've hit a few people in my time. It was justified. It was warranted.
That's what I meant. Zero.
But speaking of boxers that have got, kind of problems when they're older. Literally today, Frank Bruno was in town and he was lost. And you're like, mate, you've lived here all your life. And you look like he was actually lost. Poor guy.
Oh, that is
Proof
that's
is in
quite
the
sad,
pudding,
isn't it?
in the Bruno pudding.
Blimey.
We still haven't answered this question. Who would
me?
Okay. Okay. Darren, you're up against David.
I'd love that. He tried to wind me up when we were on the stage that other year, and I was like trying to be all cool with his sunglasses on, and I just started sniffing my armpits for no reason, and he found it funny. So that was good enough for me. That was a good time.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah. Well, in which case we'll say David.
And Dave may not be the hardest, but he'd definitely be the most up for it.
I'd unleash my inner Keith Flint is what I'd do. I'd just go a bit crazy. I'd go a bit wild. It's in there somewhere.
I'd just love to see it. I just want to see
maybe this is like an unstoppable force meets an immovable object
coming to
situation,
Sheffield.
where the two would be locked in a Xenoblade Chronicles style fight forever, where the two titans just go at each other forever.
Yeah, we'll stream a lot on Twitch. Have you?
Yeah,
a 24-hour boxing match.
A 24-hour forever boxing match.
Yeah,
that never ends.
Rumble. We'll tag each other in.
Are we naked?
Cut this.
Yeah.
Depends how much people pay to show up.
Different streaming service then.
Yeah, but I'm sure we'll find a provider. Thanks for 200 bits. Maria Mendieta, dear TCGS combat system. With David discovering the depth of a Kirby game with his son, or through his son, I was reminded of HAL Laboratories' genius. They are the studio that made a compelling puzzle game franchise out of a square on the 3DS. Which game from HAL or any other developer do you admire for its simplicity? Thank you for keeping me smiling week after week. Sincerely, Maria.
Tetris.
Yeah, I was going to say it's the
Tetris is the answer, isn't it?
Easiest answer in the world. Yeah.
Because there's,
Box Boy is great too.
I've never played Box Boy.
They're really nice.
Yeah.
It's a proper HAL game. You just chill out, solve some puzzles. It's great.
I years and years and years ago when I was 10 or 11-ish, there was a shareware demo for a game called Tumblebugs. And I don't know why it was called that, because there were no bugs in it. It was this game. It was just like a one-on-one, sort of spaceship combat game, but you weren't in space. You were on a planet, and it was all voxels. Remember voxels?
Because was it Delta? Was it one of the Delta Force games? Or whatever had
right.
voxels.
That's right.
It was like a new way of...
So it was all voxel based. So it looked really cool, and it was literally just both players hunched over the same keyboard. You had up, down, left, right, just to sort of fly the ship around, and a fire button, and we'd just play that for hours. It was just, there was something about the feel of the ships, it was a little bit physicsy. There was, the terrain was sort of just interesting enough. There was little hills and valleys and stuff that you sort of use it to your advantage at times. But on paper, nothing to it, and yet. Yeah, we could just play that forever. That was proper good.
I think that's the question answered. Or it may be Tetris. That may be the real answer.
Tetris.
Yeah. The actual answer is Tetris.
Yeah, it's Tetris.
The fact that Tetris Effect is amazing, but it's essentially, calling it a coat of paint is doing it a huge disservice. But you know what I mean? It's an aesthetic change, but the game is more or less the same.
Yeah.
We're going to end with a question from Paul. My only question for the TCGS crew is, what's the cheapest and best way, right answers only, to stop the exhaust muffler on a 2010 Toyota Corolla from making a worrying, rattling noise on left turns? Keep up the good work, Paul.
New exhaust hangers.
Is that the answer? I don't...
I can't believe we've nailed it. We get these questions every week.
I don't even have a car.
The amount of questions we've had about Toyota Corollas, particularly 2010 models as well, I'm sick of them. So I'm glad you've come in and just given us the answer that everyone needs.
It's just dry as a cold sausage. Just that's the answer.
There you go, Paul.
It's just no exhaust
deal with
hangers.
it, mate. Let's get it sorted.
That'll be 50 quid, please.
Yeah, I could be in the into the digital MOT game. I think you can come to me. I'll charge you 25. Your mate's rates, isn't it? It'll be all right.
Yeah,
25. I assume, Joshua, you were going to say the same answer. Just Darren got in the way.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, there you go, Paul. That's that answered for you. That's it for questions.
Cool. Don't do the socials.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, so this Thursday at 9, Sean is streaming Sea of Friends. It was the first one last week with Cammy Toman. He was on the Sea of Friends, Sea of Thieves stream.
Did you get a chance to watch any of this, Matt?
I haven't. No. Sorry, it was Easter holiday. I mean, I'm lucky that I got it up on YouTube as it was, but no, I didn't.
No,
I didn't get to
that
watch
wasn't
it.
me like expecting you to have. I was just going to say, like, basically, like obviously the amount of ranting I've done about like pricks in Sea of Thieves, like
There's loads of them.
Yeah.
And then you invited Cammy on.
Then I invited Cammy on, yeah.
So
but like
confused.
broadly speaking, like it's been a long time since anyone's like griefed us, right? I don't know if that's just luck of the draw, or we got better at avoiding people, or whatever. But basically, it's been a long time since we've had like a bad experience. Literally, the first 10 minutes of this stream, like we saw another boat, and it was like, well, they know we've literally just set off. There's no point. Oh, they're attacking us. Okay, and and one of them used a slur as well, so that was fucking fantastic.
Cheers, mate.
So yeah, but no, other than that, it was really lovely. So I know I was sort of umming and ahhing about whether or not this would be a series, but it definitely is. And the aim is to have a different friend on each week. So there'll be like a rotating cast of people we like joining me on the Sea of Friends. So yeah, that'll be Thursday at 9 p.m. ish.
Fantastic.
If you want someone to come on, sorry to jump in there, but if you want someone to come on who's got year 1 Pirate Legend sales that you can't get anymore, if you want a target on your ship, these are the sales for it. Like, you've played the game and you got Pirate Legend in year 1. I'm coming for you. So if you want a bit of aggro, come see me, because I've got the target that you need.
100%, man. I'd definitely love to have you on at some point. That'd be really cool.
But so I guess my question is, I wasn't sure if someone sees that, is that a sign to keep away because they know you play it long enough that you can destroy them, or they're like, we're going to try and get you because we know you've probably got good stuff on it?
It works both ways, doesn't it? Like if you see someone with like super wicked sales that you can only get within the first year, you go, well, respect to them because they played the game for a long time, and also I really want to take them down. It's that kind of, it's that
well, because it goes the other way as well, doesn't it? Like if you see a ship that's just like the basic default ship, and you're like, well, that could be someone who's literally never played the game before, or it could be someone who's been playing it for 4 years and is being a prick and is misleading me on purpose.
But then, like, whenever I set sail in Sea of Thieves, and I don't care about the cosmetics, I just set sail with a blank ship, and I don't even think about it sometimes. I normally dress up my ship when I'm playing with friends.
Oh, I absolutely love dressing up the ship, man.
Oh, it's great, isn't it?
It's very good.
It is nice.
Anyway, sorry, Matt, go on.
No. So if you missed that live, you can watch on YouTube. The first one is up now, and they'll be up the day or so after Sean streams. That is Thursday from 9 at twitch.tv/TCGSCO. If you have Amazon Prime and you have Twitch, then connect the accounts and you've got Twitch Prime Gaming. And with they get 1 free sub every single month, you can't keep it. You've got to give it away to another channel. And we'd love it if you went over to our channel at twitch.tv/TCGSCO and gave us your free monthly sub. We really appreciate it. It makes a huge amount of difference to us. So we'd love that if you choose to do that. Also, Patreon, as we mentioned, patreon.com/TCGS for exclusive podcasts, live talks overs, and to support what we're doing over here. If you're buying games or V-Bucks or Rocket League passes on the Epic Games Store, either console or PC, we've got creator code, enter TCGS at the checkout, and apparently we get a kickback. We haven't seen much of it. Yeah, we've seen none of it.
I was going to say,
far,
did you get anything? Because I bought Solar Ash the other week.
Yeah, no, I did. I did log in a while ago. I don't think I've logged in since you bought that because other people said, "Oh, we've done it." I just haven't seen anything of it yet. But I'll log in and see if anything's happened. And the website is tcgs.co for links to our podcast, our gorgeous Discord, our store, TCGSCON tickets still on sale. There's still a few left. Go to tcgs.co/TCGSCON for them. And that's it.
Amazing. Josh and Darren, thank you so much for joining us.
I hope it wasn't too boring.
I think you were all right.
We did all right.
You did okay. Yeah.
Yeah, you were fantastic. Thank you ever so much.
Yeah. Would you like to plug yourselves, Daft?
No, not really.
So myself and Darren feature on a video game podcast called Cane and Rinse, which no one who listens to this has ever heard before.
Zero
this
crossover.
is literally the first time you've heard of it.
People thought it was made up.
Yeah. It's just like this fantasy.
It's just like a running
enemy.
gag. Yeah.
Basically, we take a game or a series of games and we examine and dissect that game in detail. it may just be the Cane and Rinse panel. We occasionally have guests. Sean has been on more than a few Cane and Rinse episodes. Matt, have you been on Cane and Rinse?
No, I know nothing about games.
Oh, yeah, he doesn't finish games, so he's not allowed on the podcast. Okay.
I finished plenty of games.
When you finish your
I'm
first
idiot,
game,
so...
let Leon know, and he'll get you on the schedule.
Well, I finished... Yeah, you know what, you got a point.
Okay, cool.
Actually, Matt, I finished Half-Life Alyx, and I DM'd you on Twitter saying, do you want to do a spoiler cast? You didn't even reply, so what's...
Motherfucker.
Oh god, I'm the worst. I'm an idiot.
You're categorically not the worst, Matthew.
You're the best, Matthew.
Okay, categorically, sure. And I think I said that wrong.
Anyway, yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, go over to your podcast app of choice, search Cane and Rinse, and you'll find us. We also have the website where you'll find lovely articles, and the Patreon where we have bonus shows, etc., etc. And you can find me at Combine Hunter on Twitter. Darren?
No, I don't exist online.
Okay, cool.
Fair enough.
That's probably
best way
wise.
to be. Yeah. Support that decision.
See you in 4 years.
Right. Thanks to both of you. Matt, I feel like we don't really need Dave and James, do we? Think we're all right?
No, I think that's it
Yeah,
now.
nailed it.
Who?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, Darren.
Thanks for
That's
listening.
right, I'm bringing the toot.
Yeah.
I'm
Big
ready.
time. Thanks for listening, and thanks for letting us be natural. We'll see you next week. Ta-ra.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Peace out.
Ooh, that's new.